And stood steadfast for a long time that the only time there are two acceptable times to use the term bear down. One is when a woman is giving birth. And the second is when the Packers do exactly what they did yesterday to the Chicago Bears and flushed them down the toilet. That was it. I'll tell you this. I got a lot of tweets and texts and emails and stuff yesterday after the game. Are you a believer? And whoa. First of all, whoa. But secondly, Mike Clemens and I were driving back last night, and we got into this discussion about Jordan Love made a lot of good reads, and there were times that he didn't throw the ball as quickly as he should have, but what he's doing with his body, with his head, with his look to move defenders around was impressive. It's very Aaron Rodgers-esque. Okay, and I hate to say that because that's not the comparison, but I was impressed. I was more impressed than I thought I would be, but there were still throws that were there and he didn't make. Okay, so there's the good and the bad. But as we drove home last night, the conversation turned from, boy, Jordan did this, and this really well, and then you hope the injuries, are not too detrimental. And Quay Walker obviously going down with what seemed to be a concussion. And I know Aaron Jones yesterday was on the sideline stretching out in the overhead cam, and he's showing the fingers and all that kind of stuff. And we could see him, working out and kind of stretching. And it wasn't like he was limping all over the place. So as we were sitting in the press box, we're thinking, man, hope it's not that detrimental. But we don't know. We won't know anything until tomorrow, maybe. Okay. But the conversation on the way home yesterday turned from, boy, that was a pretty good performance by the Green Bay Packers, and creativity out of Matt LaFleur. And oh, by the way, when you utilize all of your weapons, look what can happen. Then the conversation went to, that's all the Bears had to offer? That's their first game of the season? That's their tenacity? That's Justin Fields? There's absolutely, positively nothing to be excited about in Chicago. I mean, nothing. Nothing. That was all they had. That's what Justin Fields brought to the table. Same old, same old. And I had said going into the game that Justin Fields, for his career, has impressed me because he's done more than I thought he would. He's inspired a fan base. He has looked good at times. He's made some throws, but he's gotten it done with his feet. And he's got a tenacity, a will to win. He comes out of a program in which there's a will to win. But I kept saying he was not an impressive quarterback at Ohio State. He is, between you, me, and the fence post. Okay, for those watching on the live stream, between you and me, he's not a Mensa meeting member. And even his own people are saying that. So why they thought that this was the guy, that this is the savior, he's an incredibly fast athlete. He's elusive. He's got escapability, but he's better as a running back than he is a quarterback. He's not a great passer. He doesn't do a whole lot of things on the fly. And so I kept saying that. And then this whole thing about this Justin Fields MVP talk leaked into the conversation about a week and a half ago. And like a dummy, I started buying in. And this is what happens, okay? I feel like Lee Corso. Hold on there just a second. So this is what happens is when there's nothing going on and nothing being played, you start to think of things that might be, And this is why we get so caught up in, during the draft, who's rocketing up the big board when they haven't done a damn thing since the last time they put anything on film, And you start buying in, you start going, well, if he does, and he's got this, and and so Mike and I, before the game yesterday, we were talking with a person who covers the Bears, and I don't want to use his name because he was very honest with us about things. And if he wants to say it, he can say it, but I'm not going to put his name to it. But basically said the story that nobody covered during the Bears training camp was Justin Fields had a terrible camp. He didn't look good. And basically said the same thing I just said. And I went, oh, okay. So I actually tweeted it out. I tweeted it out yesterday, and I was thinking to myself as I hit enter, as I hit enter, I thought, watch Justin Fields have the game of his life. But I thought, you know what? I trust this guy. I'm going to go with it. And sure enough, it was exactly what he stated. It's just he's a one-read guy. Eberflus doesn't put him in the best position to be successful. Their offensive line is not good. He's still a tuck-and-run quarterback. There's all of that. So I walk in today as I wake up, and I apologize for sounding bad because I'm a little under the weather. But I walk in today, and I started to ponder this morning. Did the Packers what I saw? Did the Packers play that well, or did they just play the worst team in the National Football League? Okay, and I'm not throwing the big bucket of cold water out there. All I'm saying is I'm doing it with a little bit of a cautious optimism, I guess, might be the best way to put it. But I will say this. Even if they did play the worst team in the National Football League, they beat them on the road in an important game that had pressure for both quarterbacks, and Jordan Love performed better and opened my eyes a little bit. So that's if I had to give you the synopsis of everything. Now we can get in all the other details, and we're going to all throughout the day. But if I had to go through the synopsis, the honest synopsis of that, I think the Packers are a better roster top to bottom. I think the Packers quarterback is better because of where he was over the last 3 years. I think that Matt LaFleur is a much better mind. And I saw the creativity yesterday. I wrote it down. We went through the top 3 things we want to see, and I tweeted it out. I wrote it down. Can we say I tweeted it out anymore, by the way? It's not even Twitter. It's X, whatever the hell that is. But I still say tweet. Anyway, so all of that I thought was much. I think they kind of checked off all the boxes. It was much better. The phone numbers to get a hold of us, light the lines, because I want your reaction to yesterday's game. And I've got an apology for you here in just a minute. Okay, I've got something that I need to tell you real quick, and an apology for you here in just a minute. If you want to hit us up today, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You can find us on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, or find us on X at Bill_Michaels. Find Grant Bills at Wisco Grant. Find us on Instagram, The Bill Michaels Show, The Bill Michaels Show over on Instagram as well. Facebook, go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. YouTube, and I suggest you subscribe there, and I'll tell you why. The apology is coming here in just a minute, but that's something that you want to think about. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show and continue to subscribe there. There's Twitch TV, which is the Twitch app, the Kick app that we are on now. Email-wise, you can email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. The website, simply thebillmichaels.com. The Zone Madison, The Zone, Z-O-N-E, The Zone Madison, which many of you listened to us on yesterday. We had a great group of people over on the live stream as well, but people listening on the app big time. And you can find us listening after the fact over on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Now, before we go to break, and before I bring in Grant Bills, yesterday, I have to apologize to all of you who follow us on Facebook, okay? This is what happened, and I want to explain it. And this is terrible. It's absolutely awful and detrimental, and I'm going to bring my... You're never supposed to talk about the mistakes or the embarrassments or the problems, but I'm going to, because we alienated a good part of our audience yesterday. Yesterday, what happened was we had problems down at the Shy Bar, and really it was kind of a cross between them and us. But technically, there were some issues when we arrived on the site before right before we went on the air, and they were kind of scrambling to get the internet up and running. And what had happened is there's a little toggle switch on the stream service that we use, and it on Facebook it got shut off. I don't know how it did, but it did. And I'll be honest with you. I'm going to give you a completely unabridged, honest moment. Okay. I'm going to also apologize to Kristen. So Kristen has this bad habit of when she gets in a hurry to get out of the house and we're traveling or something, she's got this bad habit about leaving the power pack to her computer behind. And she'll put the computer in the briefcase and then take off and then forget to bring the power cord. So there's a couple of times now where she's like, crap, and she's had to go to like Best Buy and buy a Universal, right? And I keep telling her, it's like, you have to remember that stuff, Yesterday, we went to Chicago. 2 days ago, we went to Chicago, and I forgot the power pack to my computer. Now, normally I take 2 computers with me, but because I had my computer and my pad, not an iPad, but the Samsung tablet pad, that's what I monitor television and stuff on, because I've got that into my streaming services. So I didn't have enough room in my briefcase. Long story short is I forgot my power pack. And what we usually use, my computer, as the kind of control panel for the show, it died with about 2 minutes to go. The entire show yesterday. Now, you may not have known this, but the entire show yesterday ran off of my cell phone, which is phenomenal in today's day and age with the technology that we have, that a network broadcast for a Green and Gold postgame show aired off of a cell phone, but it did. So on one hand, it was a monumental success for the equipment that we had. But on the other hand, and I'm sure people could tell that we were having issues, but on the other hand, it was because of complete stupidity upon my part. And it was. So that's an honest moment. So now I can never again say to Kristen, those are things you got to bring. Don't ever forget that. And yeah, that was me. So karma came back in a giant bite at the apple and gripped upon my ass and strangled me down to the ground like grim death and pounced upon my face and teabagged me because at one of the most important moments, I realized I had forgotten the power pack to my computer and karma got me. So there you go. Grant Bills, how are you doing today?
I had a great weekend, Bill.
Yeah.
Yesterday's Packer game. Oh my goodness, that's as happy as a game has made me in a long time. Now the Brewer game was. I don't even want to think about it. I forgot about it until Ebo brought it up this morning. What the Brewers did yesterday was one of the most embarrassing things ever, and we're mostly going to forget about it. Thank God, because of football.
Right. The to have a no-hitter, but then again to only have 3 hits. I mean, we talk about the no-hitter. That I understand. But we can't negate the fact that the Brewers, because I looked at it in the 8th inning, I started getting all these pop-ups from MLB Network saying no hitter in progress. And I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then I saw it was Corbin Burns. And then I saw, oh my God, the Brewers, they're no hitting. This is amazing. They're no hitting the Yankees. This is awesome. They can get the sweep. And then I looked at the Brewers had 3 hits. And I'm like, okay, this sucks. Of all days to pick a day to decide that you're not going to be able to hit the ball. It was not one of the best, but to have that kind of a game, again, Corbin Burns, we went through this, what was it, a week ago that I went through all of his starts and the run support that he doesn't get.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. When Corbin Burns goes to the hill, you can pretty much guarantee the Brewers are not going to hit the baseball.
Only the Brewers could do this. They flirt with their first true no-hitter, because I think if the Brewers would have had the lead, I think Burns comes back out for the 9th. Right. They flirted with their first true no-hitter since 1987 on week 1 of the NFL season when no one's paying attention. Right. They take that no-hitter into the 11th and they get no runs and they lose. That's the most Brewers. I can't think of a more Brewers thing to do than what they did yesterday. It was disheartening, disappointing, and then the Cubs went on and won. So, because I thought to myself, at least keep pace and stay ahead. But it's still all in all not a bad weekend in the Bronx. I'll take it. But it was the way it ended. There's first impressions and last impressions. And the last impression leaving the Bronx was, are you kidding me?
Ugh. On a day in which we were completely filled with joy, when we could have thought to ourselves, this would have been a great way to at least put a cap on the weekend after that absolutely horrific performance that we saw out of the Wisconsin Badgers in Washington. And I have to adjust my win total there. I'll get into that in a minute. But I thought this would have been a great way to kind of rebound for Wisconsin to kind of regroup and regather and watch the Packers get a win, and the Brewers, they're going to no-hit the Yankees. And to no-hit the Yankees, I mean, this is like, and it all just kind of unraveled. It just went to crap. So, yes, if we had to look at a downside of the weekend, you know what? They won 2 out of 3. And as they say in baseball, you're only as good as the next day starting pitcher. So they're back at it again today, and they still have a lead, and they can still win the division, and they can still beat the Cubs. And I took a lot of joy in walking up and down Michigan Avenue the other day and looking at all the people wearing Cubs jerseys. And, but then they're still talking about the Brewers, and they can't catch them. How are the Brewers doing it? The Brewers aren't that good. And I just wanted to smile and go, well, you suck. But I didn't. I didn't want to start a brawl right there in Michigan Avenue when they're trying to bounce back after all the looting and riots and pot smoking and everything else that goes on in that god-awful city. But anyway, I thought, that would have been a great way to end the weekend. But yeah, it just got away. But the Packers win overshadows everything. Jordan Love looking decent overshadows everything. And it seems like a distant nightmare of a memory of what we witnessed at Wazoo with the Wisconsin Badgers. Oh, that was painful. That was ugly to watch. I sat and had dinner with Mike Clemens at Shula's, and we watched that game, and we were just like baffled. Like, this is just it. And again, it takes a while to build a program, to put your people in place to be able to do the things you want to do. So I'm not down on the program. I'm just simply saying that was a bad football game. Oof.
I was at a wedding, so I got to miss a lot of it. But I was at a wedding where the bride and groom and a lot of the people in the wedding were Badgers from UW. So they were all kind of checking on their phones, and they were bummed. I was like, hey, just give me another gin and tonic. I'm on the dance floor. Don't bother me.
I was impressed that you and I are texting and you're working as you're at the wedding reception. That was the next level up, because Ben Kenny never left the house, so Ben was always working. But you were working while you were on the dance floor. That was impressive. I like that.
I'm always grinding, Bill. I'm always trying to make this show better.
There you go.
Always.
Speaking of making the show better, we're going to start taking some phone calls. We're going to hear from Eric Baranchak, who is back with us again this year, breaking down the film. We got Mike Clemens for the full final hour of the program. Got a lot of reaction around the rest of the NFL about what went on yesterday. And oh my God, did Mike McCarthy's team put an absolute ass kicking on the New York Giants? And then coming up tonight, are you a Buffalo fan or are you a Jets fan? There's something to think about as well. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. This portion of the program being brought to you by our good friends over there at Quick Trip. And God love Quick Trip. I'm coming back last night late. I dropped Mike Clemens off, and I realized I didn't really have much food in the house. I haven't been home for like 3 weeks. And so all I wanted to do was get something quick. I stopped in. They have those little power packs, they call them, a little bit of cheese, they got grapes, and they got like the Ritz crackers, and they got apples and all that. It was just something, sustenance, just good stuff. And it's fresh. And I walked in and I grabbed one of those things, and those things are just awesome. And that's what got me through and made me feel a little bit better. I woke up today, took off real quick, went over to Quick Trip, picked up a couple of things because I haven't even been to a grocery store in like 3 weeks. So finally I'm back home. Although I leave again on Wednesday, I'm traveling on Wednesday again for a week. But nevertheless, it was just Quick Trip. It was good to get back to Quick Trip, because when you stop at a 7-Eleven in Chicago, all you're buying there is maybe a power cord for your phone, a Kevlar vest so you don't get shot, and then whatever it is you can hide your pot in. That's it. That's all you're finding down there in Chicago. And here in Wisconsin, it's just great. It's just great. You go into Quick Trip, you just feel like you're at home. That's what Quick Trip is. It's just home. It's so awesome.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess. leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Boy, they had a nice party yesterday down at the Northern Lights event venue. We talk about this all the time, and it was the first time they ever did a Packer party, and they did it down there yesterday, and it was a success. I saw a lot of pictures on Facebook, so kudos to them. And if you're looking for a venue, say 75 people or less when it comes to like dinners, for like a corporate gathering, a rehearsal dinner, a wedding reception, this is the place to go. Not only do they do dinners and weddings, but they also have the ability to do like photo shoots on site. So if you want to get great pictures or headshots for your company or something like this. As a matter of fact, Kristen had just changed jobs, and they were looking for a place to go. And I hooked them up with Northern Lights event venue, and they loved it. They're like, oh my God, I never knew this place existed. Exactly. That's exactly my point. It's right on the Milwaukee waterfront. Downstairs, they have a photo place area that you can do photo shoots with different backdrops. And then upstairs, a complete true photo studio, blackout curtains and the whole thing. It's all the lighting and everything in there. They've got everything. You don't need to bring anything but a camera. and you're good to go. That's northernlightseventvenue.com. So dinners, weddings, photo shoots, business events, Christmas parties, holiday parties, that kind of thing. northernlightseventvenue.com, and they're going to continue to do some of the Packer parties and Wednesday night music and all that kind of stuff until the weather doesn't permit anymore. So thanks to them for being a part of the program. We got all kinds of different stuff to get to. By the way, this one is from Jackie. Jackie says real quick, hey, Bill, are you now on the love train? I got a lot of that, Jackie. I am standing at the station. I am at the station. I have my ticket in hand, but I am on the platform with my arms folded saying I want to see the train continue to move in the right direction before I just jump on it. Does that make sense? One game, much like all of a sudden the Dallas Cowboys are off to a Super Bowl. Overreaction on a Monday. And Joe Burrow sucks on a Monday. I am waiting to jump on that train. It's not to say that it won't happen. It's just that I'm not going to. We all know, look, next week you could go in. And I said all along that this was an important game, but you hope there isn't a letdown going into the Atlanta game. If they can get off to a 2-0 start and look good, and next week you're going to be on a fast surface, you're going to be in a dome. Weather's not going to play a part of it at all. Not that yesterday did, but which, by the way, did you know they put a whole new field in at Soldier Field, and it's better? I don't know exactly how they did it or what they did, but that field was actually, walking around in that field earlier in the morning, that field's actually better. Maybe it took them to lose the Bears to say, maybe we got to upgrade this piece of crap stadium just a little bit for the players. And they did, and the field was better. Didn't chunk up yesterday like we've seen in the past. However, I'm not on the train, but I'm kind of, I've got my ticket and I'm standing on the platform.
By the way, the better way to ask that, and there's a non-zero chance Mike Clemens asks you this directly and includes the music to fit in the 1 o'clock hour. The best way to ask this is, do you believe in love? And then you can quote Huey Lewis.
Ask. I like that. And I've got a connection to Huey Lewis. So I'm liking that.
Oh,
yeah. It was, and by the way, that goes in connection with Jimmy Buffett.
Well, no way.
Yeah,
I know Mike Clemens is probably me like, well, I was covering the Packers-Niners one time, and I rode the bus, and who was next to me but Huey Lewis? And he said, Mike, this Don Mikowski guy, he's pretty good, but I don't know if he can stay healthy. And some story like that.
No, it was true story. Jimmy Buffett was playing, and they used to do a thing called Shake the Lake down in Delavan at the Lake Lawn Resort. And Jimmy Buffett's band, Mr. Utley and Nadira Shakur and a couple of the others, would come over and play with some of the local bands. It was really cool. It was they'd play like one Buffett song or two, but that was it. They didn't really play. They just jammed. And we're sitting at this table. They had all these tables out, and it rained like crazy the day before, so it was kind of muddy, and there was hay all over the ground and everything. And there was another band called the 16 Candles Band that I like. They were playing there as well. And the 16 Candles Band was playing. And before Jimmy Buffett's band went up on the stage, we're sitting in the grass, and we're at this big table that's got like 10 seats around it. And we're smoking cigars. Myself, my buddy, Rob Hall. That's back when Rob was married and I was married. And, we're sitting there with our wives and a couple other friends. And this guy comes up to me and says, hey, you got one of those. Do you have an extra one? And I looked at him, and he had these like blue tinted sunglasses on, this older guy. And I'm like, yeah, here. And I gave him a cigar. He sits down, he starts talking to us. And all of a sudden I realized I'm sitting there next to Huey Lewis. He was the opening act for Buffett. And it was Huey Lewis that had come over as well, that was hanging out with us. So we sat at the table and talked with Huey Lewis for, I don't know, maybe an hour. He just hung there. He just hung out. And we were talking to him a little bit about, Jimmy and playing, and he was talking about memories of Summerfest. And so you bring up Huey Lewis, and it's all connecting. It all comes back and intertwines with Jimmy Buffett.
He just wanted to smoke. That's all he wanted.
That was it.
Just wanted to hang out. I never doubted you, but I tip my cap. You're name dropping members of the Coral Reefer Band, Mike Utley, Nadira Shakur, Fingers Taylor on that harmonica, the whole group.
Yep.
Nicely done.
Mac McAnally, love me some Mac. Although at some point in time, he's got that Floby hair that is just massive. And he has
not lost 1 ounce of hair. He might have more hair now than he did when he was younger.
And he reminds me, he's only a paintbrush away from being the happy painter. He's got that much hair. Just an FYI. Let's do this. I know we got people on hold. I want to get back to it. So we'll go right to the phones when we come back. I promise you. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. It's a non-manic Monday, unless of course you're a Bears fan. And cry me a river. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Water Doctors. H2 the letter O doctors.com. That's H2 the letter O doctors.com for the best water softening system out there. That's the Kinetical water softening system, the absolute positive best. Give my buddy John Atley a call, 262-549-7733, 262-549-7733. They will help you anywhere you're at in the state of Wisconsin, and they will get you in touch with the right Kinetico dealer that is for you, unless, of course, they can help you themselves. But call them, 262-549-7733, and I swear by the Kinetico water softening system. I just love it. Love it to get home, and love just the good, crisp, clean water. Love it. Just love it. Love it.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Packers get a win yesterday, knock off the Chicago Bears in fine fashion. And I've got a lot of people that are on hold. I want to get right to the phone calls coming up here momentarily. The one thing I will say, and for those who were listening to the postgame show yesterday, I sat right behind kind of the brain trust of the Green Bay Packers. There was Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball and a lot of the scouts and such. Mark Murphy was off to the side. And yesterday was as much a win for the Packers and for the front office as anything. The one thing I will caution, because people say, well, that's vindication for Goody. And I understand that. He got a win. But they haven't won a championship yet. Favre won a championship. Rodgers won a championship. Rodgers kept them relevant in the postseason for his entire career for the most part. Now, granted, we can go semantics-wise over all the different records and such via the postseason. But, they still got a long way to go. So I'm not going to overreact to that either. But, it was that first score to Romeo Doubs in which Jordan Love did everything perfectly. He looked off the coverage. He moved the linebacker with his head. He turned his feet. He waited for Romeo Doubs to run a great route where he got underneath the safety and came across the middle and then hit him with a perfect strike. And everything in that play was perfect, and that at that moment, because right in front of me was where everybody sat. And, Gutekunst did one of those kind of put both hands on the table and kind of like tap the table like, yes. And then they started fist bumping everybody. And it was kind of like, okay, now we can breathe. Now let's just get on with the regular season. So anyway. It is what it is. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Let's go to Derek, listening to us in Albany, New York. Derek, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Hey, Bill, while we're on hold, we often think of other things we could mention, but you made a good point about the Packer brain trust and a sigh of relief. And what you just said encapsulated it. You look for all the things in a quarterback, all the subtle things. And I think in that time that he sat for 3 years and watched and learned, he's got those subtleties. He obviously has the physical tools. And I did want to mention, how about Anders Carlson, our kicker?
Yeah.
He kicks a 52-yarder. He makes every extra point. We were worried about that. My only concern ending this game was the health of Aaron Jones. And I'd be remiss, Bill, if we didn't all remember. And I'd like to hear maybe a few stories from you. I was in a building at the Empire State Plaza on 9/11 22 years ago. I was in a very tall building, and there was a lot of concern where we were.
Yep.
And I remember that day. I remember my kids being like 8, 9 years old, and how that day was. But we would be remiss if we didn't reflect resolutely on that day.
Right. No, I completely agree. I appreciate the phone call as always, Derek, which has a different meaning for somebody that's actually in New York. But I think for everybody, it's funny because Mike and I were talking about that coming back last night about today being 9/11 and where you were. And my point of interest or point of remembrance was always my mom and dad talking about they knew where they were when Kennedy was shot. And I always thought that I wasn't really alive, so I didn't have the recollection of that. And my mom and dad always said, "Oh, you always knew," just like people always knew where they were on, December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Everybody always knew. There's moments in time where you know where you were and what you were doing at that moment in time, without a doubt. And I was at home. I had, gotten up that morning. I was getting ready to go to work, and I remember that there was a report that a small plane. They were thinking it was a traffic plane. It hit the. I think it was the North Tower, and anyway, then live on TV, you saw the next plane go in, and then you realized that we were under attack. And I, every year we kind of go through the recollection of, and then I remember my wife at the time had just lost some of her family members. They had passed away, and it was just a lot going on. And at that moment in time, we knew we were under attack in some way, shape, or form. And she had dropped, and I was trying to console her, and it was just a lot of emotions that were being let go. And then the phone rings, and I had a news background early on in my career, and I got a phone call from the program director saying, "Bill, you got to come in. You got to come in. We got to start working on this." Not to mention, you didn't know where the next strike was coming, so I had to kind of gather her up, and I off to work I went. And you never forget that day. And then I remember doing sports talk shows that weren't even related to sports. It's much like sports weren't overly related to COVID. You're just trying to get through it, and we did. But I remember that day without a doubt. So again, today, September 11th. And as you had mentioned, 22 years since, and it's going to be an emotional night, I would assume, at the Meadowlands in New York. On this particular occurrence. And it's interesting because I just had Tim Duffy staying here at the house with us, and Tim Duffy is the iconic, New York firefighter riding the Harley Davidson into the rubble of the towers. And just before Tim had left, he reached into his briefcase and gave me a piece of the tower and said, "Here, however you want to, display it or hang on to it, you can." But he said it's not a remembrance of that day. It's a remembrance of the heroics of that day, when a lot of people were running from naturally an absolute catastrophe and disaster, while all the firefighters and police officers and first responders and such were running in, and kind of what everybody does, people that sign up for that particular job, that they were the ones running in. And there's a lot of things I can go into, and I don't necessarily want to at this point, but it's absolutely a day that when we wake up and we hear today is 9/11, that's where your mind goes. So 100% agree. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, you please feel free to go ahead and do so. Packers get a win yesterday, and what a terrific, I won't say great. Great is used overused, but what a terrific way to start the season. But I also ask you, and I got a couple of friends of mine who are Bears fans, believe it or not. Their argument is, well, the Packers were good, but the Bears were awful. Did the Packers beat the worst team in the National Football League? And that's almost a backhanded slap at the Green Bay Packers. And I don't think so. I think the Packers played a really solid game in a lot of different phases. And here's another thing. Here's another thing to think about. How did you like the defense and the aggressiveness of Joe Barry? Huh? Think about that. We're going to step away, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get back into it, get into your phone calls and reactions to that. Robert Specialty Meats Waukesha, you better believe, because tonight I have the last cigar dinner of the season. But when I get home tonight, I got me some grilling going on. I know it's drizzling, but underneath the Tiki Hut, you can grill it 24/7, 365. I love it. Going to be doing a little grilling tonight. Damn straight. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, You had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details, offers, and 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. 877-867-1670. Let's get back to the phone calls real quick. Let's go to Daniel listening to us in Toma. Daniel, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
How's it going?
It's going good. We're good.
I'm in a bad area.
Okay.
Hello?
We're here.
All right. I said I thought the game was pretty tough.
Up, Daniel, we're losing you, bud. Let's put Daniel on hold. We'll get back to him. 877-867-1670. I don't even think he can hear us.
I'm in a bad area. He says, you know what?
area.
The first thing I do when I get into a bad cell reception area is, Bill, I call a radio show.
Right.
That's always the first thing that I do.
Yeah. He could be sitting in his chair. You don't know. Not really
He
sure.
could be.
I'm in a bad area. I'm in the wrong position in the house. One of the if you had to go with some concerns from yesterday's ball game, here's a couple of mine. When you start to look at this team and you look at what they did. So first of all, AJ Dillon did not have a great day running the football yesterday. His longest carry was 7 yards, 13 carries, 19 yards. It brought the average down. They were averaging over 4 yards a carry for the most part. They averaged 2.9 by the end of the day, but AJ Dillon just couldn't get it churning yesterday. Aaron Jones was fantastic. Even Patrick Taylor got it going. 5 carries, 22 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. You had a couple of misses from Jordan Love. There was at one particular point in time where, and I even tweeted it out, where it was an out pattern. He looked off the coverage, did a good job, but the play was there. He just needed to kind of throw the ball a split second quicker, and it's a completion. Instead, it ends up getting knocked down by the defender. It was an out pass. I think it was a Jaden Reed. And had he looked that coverage over and then gone right to his instinct, he would have been fine. But he tapped the football, waiting for the guy to get open, and that's one of the no-nos. You throw to the spot, and had he just thrown to the spot and trusted himself, it was a completion, and it might have gone for even more yardage. It might have gone for a first down. Instead, it ended up being a third down play. But that was really, there was only a couple of things that I thought really were flaw-esque. Jordan Love missed a couple of open plays. And that's going to come with time. But he also did a lot of really good things as well. Now, I know nationally he's being hyped up because of what he did. 3 touchdown passes, quarterback rating of 123.2, all that kind of stuff. Threw for 245 yards. Very solid performance. But he probably left about another 50 to 60 yards in the field. Otherwise, he would have had just a monstrous day. So hopefully those things we see begin to become corrected. I thought Romeo Doubs had a really solid day. Luke Musgrave had, I thought, a pretty good day as well. Romeo Doubs with a couple of touchdown catches. Aaron Jones, obviously, with the big gallop. Now you kind of hold your breath and hope that he's okay and that Quay Walker are both okay. And whatever other nicks, bumps, and bruises, I thought that the Packers sustained really become minor at best. Hopefully you get Christian Watson back. I mean, he wasn't even introduced to the world yesterday when it comes to the pass catching capability and throwing downfield. So we didn't even see him, but I like the fact that they spread it around. They threw to Malik Heath. They threw to Dontavian Wicks. They threw to A.J. Dillon. They threw to everybody. Spread the ball around yesterday. And that's kind of the way you do it. So that was, and letting playmakers make plays. It doesn't have to be deep downfield passes, just letting playmakers make plays. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, welcome to the program, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Doing great today. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, I think you really hit it on the head. I think everybody is really, really pumping the Jordan Love train right now. And there are some concerns. And when you said the Jaden Reed pass where he didn't get it out there in time and stuff, one thing I thought I noticed is that Jordan Love didn't just put the ball on guys. He didn't zip it there when it should be quick, and he got away with it for the most part. But that pass to Jordan Reed, he actually floated and put a little bit of air under it, and I'm not sure why. And there was another pass on the right sideline. Same thing. There are times when you just have to zip it and put it on the guy. Even the Aaron Jones pass, that beautiful screen across the field, he kind of floated it over there instead of just getting it on him and letting your guy get the ball in his hands and goal. So I'm hoping that'll come with time. Mm-hmm. But he did kind of float some of those passes down the field that sometimes you just got to put it on him.
Right. No, I would 100% agree. It wasn't a perfect performance, but it was maybe better than what some expected. But it was something that also, I appreciate the phone call. Also, when you look at it now on film, now you got Matt LaFleur saying, okay, people are now scheming for you. Okay, this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see defenses begin to scheme for him. And they came after him a little bit. They pressured him a little bit. He stepped up in the pocket, did not panic, did not take off and run continuously, which was great. He stood strong and he delivered the football. There's just at times where you have to have and he may not have it. He may not have that extra bullet in the chamber, so to speak, like Aaron Rodgers had. He may not have that same capability arm strength wise to be able to just go bam and get it in there where you just kind of watch it zip past you. You know, he may not have that. So he's going to have to figure that out as time goes on. We all know that I don't think he has the same amount of arm strength as, say, Rodgers or even Favre did, but he's going to have to do it a little bit more with his mind, a little more technique. but he did a pretty good job yesterday looking off some coverages and making people go into areas they didn't need to go in order to open up lanes, throwing lanes for the wide receivers. But there was just a couple of times where yesterday I thought, man, he had some people open, didn't hit them. And then the second thing was he had a couple of opportunities where had he just ripped it, he would have completed the pass, and he didn't do that. Overall, though, I thought a very solid performance, a very solid performance. And the fact that, again, he put the ball only where his guys could catch it. And that is huge. That is huge. This is from Justin, who says a couple of things. I thought Jordan Love put the world on notice that he's a pretty good quarterback, not a great one. I also thought that Joe Burrow looked awful, and you had over $400 million playing on the field in Cleveland. Neither quarterback looked stellar, and the defense of the Dallas Cowboys has put the team on its back and the rest of the league on notice. Are they a better defense than San Francisco? That's from Justin. I don't know about being a better defense in San Francisco, but man, oh man, that is one hell of a defense. And the defensive performance, not only that they put on last night against the New York Giants, but the fact that even after they were up like 33 or whatever the hell it was, they're still getting after it. And the addition of Stephon Gilmore has made that secondary that much better. I mean, now where do you go? Where do you go? They're just so damn good. They got Trayvon Diggs on one side, who you didn't want to throw to. You went to the opposite side. And now you got Stephon Gilmore. So both of those guys are solid cover corners. You bring in the the nickelback, Bland, that cat, DeMarcus Lawrence. Up front, you got Hankins. And then you got Micah Parsons and Van Der Esch across the middle. And Micah Parsons has stated he doesn't want to be a Hall of Famer. He wants to be known as the greatest pass rusher in history. And boy, he started off last night like his hair was on fire. That is an incredible defense. I'm not taking anything away from him, but San Francisco is really good. Really good. But what a start for Dallas, and what a start for Mike McCarthy. I will say this, though. I don't know if anybody's talking about it, but Dak did not have a great game. The defense did. Dak didn't. 1 hour down. We got 3 more to go. We got Eric Baranchek coming up at the bottom of the next hour. We're going to break down all the film from yesterday. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show on a Green and Gold Monday, baby. Packers get a win over the Bears. The Bears. More to come right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Jordan Love era has begun for Green Bay, and the Packers went down to Chicago and beat the Bears at Soldier Field 38-20. Love threw for 15 of 27 for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns to pick up the win. Here's more from the first-year starting quarterback.
It feels great. It's definitely been a long time coming for me. 3 years as a backup, just watching, learning, and growing, seeing this team work. And it feels good to be out there. Leading those guys and being out there playing with them finally and come away with the dub.
Aaron Jones also ran for a touchdown, caught one. Romeo Doubs also had 2 touchdown catches, while Quay Walker returned an interception, 37 yards for a touchdown, and the Packers won for the 13th time in 14 games at Soldier Field. Up next, the Packers visit Atlanta to take on the Falcons on Sunday. To college, Saturday saw the Wisconsin Badgers lose to Washington State 31-22. Now sitting at 1-1, head coach Luke Fickell says they do have enough talent to win.
I mean, it's always about, continuing to grow. And I'm not going to blame it on, this is the first year of this offense or this defense. No, the reality is we have enough talent to win, and we can play well enough to win. And I don't think that anything should hold us back.
The Badgers host Georgia Southern on Saturday.
Are you a non-union construction tradesperson proud of what you do? Did you know you're worth so much more than what you're bringing home today? Put the power of LiUNA union labor to work for you. When you join LiUNA, you get the pay you deserve, plus pension and healthcare benefits above and beyond your compensation. That's 0 deductions for pension and healthcare benefits with LiUNA, because you're worth it. Learn more at liunawisconsin.org/join.
Yesterday saw the Milwaukee Brewers no-hit the New York Yankees in 10 innings, but would end up losing 4-3 in 13. The Crew currently sits 3 games above the Cubs for first place in the NL Central and will host the Marlins tonight at American Family Field. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in, everybody. Everybody. Good to have you on board. Bill Michaels Show. On the air, Packers get a win yesterday. Knock off the Chicago Bears 38-20 down at Soldier Field. And Jordan Love looked good. Jordan Love looked good, no doubt. Left a few plays out there, left a few throws, but for the most part, when it came to, I've always said that your physical ability usually gets you to the NFL. It's what's between the ears that will take you between being below average, average, above average, really good or great. And yesterday, he was above average for getting his first true start when it comes to being the guy for the franchise. I saw him do a lot of things very well. And the 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers did him good because of some of the things that he learned about looking off coverages, looking off defenders, not necessarily the no-look pass like Patrick Mahomes, but had a couple of really solid passes, left a couple out there. There's a touch that needs to be generated and refined that hopefully it comes over time. And if it does, then he could be a really good quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to be a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but he could be a really good quarterback. So we'll see, but time will tell. But I thought there was a lot of good things foundationally to build off of yesterday. Then Joe Barry played more aggressive. Now, usually we don't use the words Joe Barry and aggressive in the same sentence, but yesterday I thought they did. Played more aggressive. The defense, I'll tell you one thing. Brian Gutekunst wanted to get younger and faster. Boy, did he. I don't know what Lucas Van Ness is going to do the rest of the season, but the fact that he tracked down Justin Fields, and Justin Fields was outrunning everybody else in that field, and Lucas Van Ness was not only able to track him down, but to ragdoll him to the ground. That was impressive. One-on-one, never missed a step. If him, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Engabari, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, all that up front, if they ever really kind of come together, man, that defensive front would look really, really good. Really good.
Can I play you a soundbite that I saved from the game yesterday? It's just a little quote. Kevin Burkhardt said something, and I almost fell over in my chair, Bill. It's only 4 seconds long, but listen to what Kevin Burkhardt said.
This defensive line of Green Bay was a strength of this team coming in, and we could see why.
Wait. The defensive line is a strength? Is that something I just heard someone say?
Right?
What?
Yes. With Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton. I'll give TJ. Now, TJ Slayton drew the penalty for Lucas Patrick coming into that fray over on the sideline when Jair Alexander hit Justin Fields as he was going out of bounds. But even TJ Slayton, I thought, looked decent. Held his own. If you start getting stuff out of TJ Slayton, man, all of a sudden it really begins to change. Really begins to change up. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Yesterday, via Pro Football Focus, the Packers were credited with 35 pressures yesterday. 35 pressures. Why do I bring that up? Why is that so important? The Bears were credited with 6 and a 10% pass rush win rate. That is the lowest mark they've had since 2021. The Packers, on the other hand, credited with 35 pressures on Justin Fields, trailed only the Cowboys, who had a dominant performance at MetLife Stadium last night against the New York Giants. They trailed only the Cowboys in week 1. And the Cowboys had how many? 36. 36. Now, the pressures did not equate to sacks. I mean, the sacks came for the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys sacked Daniel Jones like 7 or 8 times yesterday. I mean, he got the hell beat out of him. But 35 pressures via the Packers defense. That's quite a number. That's quite a number. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, that's the way to get a hold of us. Again, 877-867-1670. And I just retweeted that if you want to read it. Brad Spielberger, our guy from Pro Football Focus at PFF_Brad, put out those notations today. That's I'm not going to say that good. No, this is from Chris, who says that's vindication for Goody. That's impressive. I was going to say that's impressive. It's not vindication yet. It's not vindication. You let's not go crazy. Okay, it was a good game. It's something that you and I are going to talk about all week long. The preparation for Atlanta now begins. You know, the Packers come in today. They all look at film. They write down what they did wrong. They write down some of the things that they did really, really well. They accentuate the positives and try to fix the negatives. Get an off day tomorrow, back at it on Wednesday, ready to go for Atlanta. Okay? But that was an all-round, I think, solid performance. What I was probably, and I was trying to find it, and I haven't been able to find it. I'll have to go back and search for it. But yesterday, I tweeted out a couple of different things. And one of the things that I tweeted out was that I was looking for the 3 things that I was looking for. I've been trying to find it all morning. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But there was 3 things that I was looking for. And one of them was creativity out of Matt LaFleur. And I thought Matt LaFleur did a really solid job. Even going to the 4th down where they didn't go for it, where they ended up taking the delay of game and they went 10 yards back, and it gave Whelan a little bit more room to punt. I thought that was really, really solid. Because it made you, at all of us. I mean, even Brian Gutekunst and company sitting in front of me thought they're going to go for this, and it just looked like the way things were progressing. That the Packers had a lot of creativity offensively yesterday. And by that, I mean, they had motion, they had some movement, they had guys, they went on 3rd and short and 4th and short. They were not, which is where Jordan Love had a lot of his success yesterday, was in 3rd and 4th down situations, throwing the football. But they weren't 3rd down, empty backfield, 4 wide. They didn't do that. They didn't. Here it is. The 3 things I was looking for in the Packers-Bears game yesterday. Love to be sure of himself and quick with the football. Boom. Check mark. Defensive front to hold their own. Check mark. Boom. Barry to allow the defenders to be aggressive. Boom. Check mark. Those 3 things specifically I was looking for. And then you and I talked this week about the creativity of the offense. The quote, Matt LaFleur offense. Will we see the Matt LaFleur offense come to the forefront? And I think we did yesterday. I think we did. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up. This one is from Thomas, says the great Gazoo and Aaron Rodgers. I put that into a few Facebook comments on the Jets page, LOL. Looking forward to the game tonight. I am. I'm looking forward to that game. I'm looking forward to just watching football on a Monday night. I mean, let's start there. Yeah, there is an interest in that game. I don't know what I'm rooting for. I'll know tonight. They always say, at the end of a ball game, your gut will kind of tell you what your emotion is, to who you're rooting for. I got a feeling that I hate to say it, but Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback in fantasy. I'm hoping he plays pretty well, but I'm kind of looking at it as, Buffalo maybe getting the win tonight. But I'll say this, and I don't know if anybody else saw it and what your reaction was to it. And it's going to sound like haterade. So I'm telling you right now, Grant, did you watch the pregame on Fox yesterday and Aaron Andrews and the sit down with Aaron Rodgers?
I did. I watched the whole thing. I never missed the Fox pregame show.
Did it make you want to throw up in your mouth like it did me?
It's a good question. The thing that jumped out to me is Aaron Andrews kept asking Rodgers, well, why were people frustrated with you? Why were people mad at you? And Rodgers kept saying, I think we all know why. I think we all know why.
Right.
I'm like, well, you kind of act like a little bit of a jerk sometimes. Yeah, maybe.
Because she said, you've rebuilt your image. You're America's darling. And first of all, Aaron Andrews has lost all credibility in that. She does the fluff pieces anyway, but it's like, come on. He is not America's darling. He is the divisive factor among many. And because of Hard Knocks, he put on a show. And I know he says, well, that's just me being me. And that's true. Nobody's denying that. But we also can't ignore what actually went on in Green Bay. And people behind the scenes in Green Bay have a very different feeling about certain things. The exhaustiveness of putting their effort into his feelings and emotions and the eccentricities that he had and kind of the lies that he's been busted lying. And everybody just wants to gloss over that. So all I'm saying is I did not drink that Kool-Aid, and I thought it was a complete fluff piece for Aaron Rodgers. He has been callous. He has been petty. He has been petulant, but he's also a brilliant mind. He is an incredible talent. He, with his friends, is as friendly gets. He can backhandedly treat people poorly, knowing he's doing it above them, above their IQ, and almost laugh about it on the way out the door. There is a lot to him. There's a lot of layers to that. And I thought the piece that they did with him yesterday was nothing more than a PR piece from Aaron Andrews to Aaron, because Aaron Rodgers will only do interviews for the most part with Aaron Andrews, if you've ever noticed that. He does a lot with just her. And I thought it was, and then it was this big slob fest of Aaron Rodgers after the fact. I just thought it was garbage. And this is, I know you watch Fox. By the way, before I go any further, what the hell has happened to the pregame shows? I used to watch the NFL Network because they were the most credible. And now they've got Mariucci dancing, and Mike Clemens was telling me the other day he's dressed up like a lion. And then the girl who the hot host of Good Morning Football is dressed up like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz in some hot Dorothy outfit. And so that's goofy. It used to be just analysis. The NFL Live, which I can kind of watch, but I don't know who the girl is that hosts that, but she tries to be so hard and cool that she's over the top, and she's annoying. I can't even listen to her. They got Terry Bradshaw and Jimmy Johnson, who I used to respect the hell out of, like acting as if they're fighting on set, like boxing. I'm like, what the hell is that? That has nothing to do with the show. CBS is just stiff and boring. It's like, what the hell? It's just, everybody's just got a shtick now. It's like it's just gone completely jumping the shark. Just terrible.
I didn't know they were doing the Wizard of Oz outfits on Good Morning Football. I actually had a bit planned for Wednesday. I had my Tin Man costume ready to go, but I'll leave that at home now that I know how you feel about that.
Well, it's depends on where you put the magnet, I guess, right? I can see that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, right. Scott says, what was worse, Aaron Andrews interviewing Aaron Rodgers or Greta Van Susteren sucking up to Brett Favre back in the day? Those were both terrible. Yep. Mike says, I miss ESPN days with Jackson and Berman. Yeah, Berman is past his prime. The CBS pregame usually is exciting as a golf clap, right? They haven't added anything to that makes it exciting. It's still, don't get me wrong, it's the best analysis. It really is. You learn something. But maybe this is the reason Fox is doing what they're doing and ESPN's doing what they're doing. And ESPN, everybody tries to sound like Stephen A. Smith now, making some kind of proclamation. It's like, just tell me analysis. Tell me why I should be looking in one direction or the other. maybe playing fantasy and why this is going to work or that's not going to work, or this particular player is going to have a good day. Give me something to look for, something to watch for in the upcoming games, that kind of thing. It's just, man, it's the pregame shows have just been terrible. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Chris says the boxing bit may have been because Micah Parsons took boxing lessons in the offseason for better hand-eye coordination going up against Lyman. I completely agree with that. Tua took up jiu-jitsu, but I didn't want to see Jimmy Johnson trying to kung fu Jerry Bradshaw in the gut. I kept getting visions of Eric Cartman on South Park going, kick him in the nuts. Oh my God. It didn't make sense. And Terry trying to bob around like he's some kind of a boxer. It's like, Terry, don't jump. You're going to breathe heavy and die right there on the set. Bust a suspender and snap somebody in the eye with that thing. Holy crap. More of the Bill Michael Show. It's all coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michael Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
I got a really nice note from Joey, Joey and his crew, who said, never tried it before, but went to the Nice Ash in downtown Waukesha to watch the game yesterday. What a pleasant place. Great to sit in those big seats in the front like you always talk about and watch the Packers rip off a win against the lowly Chicago Bears. I'll definitely be back. Thanks for the heads up. I've been telling you, great place to go. That's Nice Ash Cigar Bar, whether it's going down there on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights for entertainment. You want to go down and watch a sporting event like tonight, you want to head down for Monday Night Football, you can do that and just kind of take it easy and sit back in those big chairs and just rest, relax. You don't have to smoke a cigar if you don't do that thing, but just go and sit with your friends and talk. And they do have some pizzas if you want to get a little bit of food. Otherwise, you can bring your own food in and have yourself a beverage or two and be good to go. It's The Nice Ash, theniceash.com, theniceash.com, 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin. Good stuff. And that's our friends at the Nice Ash. So good that somebody took the advice and went to the Nice Ash and had a good time down there. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free to go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. Let's go to Mike. Mike, welcome to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. What's going on, man?
Hey, Bill. First of all, I love your show. First time I ever called, I love your passion.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I looked on your show. Love it. Okay, so before yesterday's game, if I could have just switched Fields to the Packers and Love to the Bears, I thought that would have been the best option for the Packers to win. Boy, was I wrong. The poise that Jordan Love showed, I just can't believe it. I expected to win 5 or 6 games. I didn't expect him to be bad, but average. One game. 45 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Seemed like they were a little confused. In the third and third.
Oh, we're losing you. Sorry about that. Let's do this. A couple of things. First of all, you touched on something about the switching of the quarterbacks. Justin Fields, I'm going to go back to what I said when they drafted him. I never thought he was going to be a good quarterback coming out of Ohio State. He has impressed me to the point that he had a will. He had a will to win. And granted, they've only won 3 games. It's not like he's won a ton. But he's looked good and given Bears fans hope. Okay? And I don't know what that says about Bears fans. I don't know if that means that they've just been so bad at the quarterback position for so long or that Justin Fields was the real deal. I couldn't quite tell. But I just know one thing, that when I watch Justin Fields throw a football, it is very quarterback 101. It's not on that second level or third level yet, and it should be. He's not great at looking off defenders. He's not great at delivering the football. I thought a few passes that he threw yesterday were pretty solid, but he's not a great quarterback. He is a really good athlete trying to play quarterback. So first and foremost, I agree with you there. Second, I want to go back to something that you had brought up, Grant. We were talking about the trenches. And we were talking more so defense. Offensively speaking, I thought the Packers' offensive line, 1, played well, but 2, there was 2 things that I noticed. One was David Bakhtiari is holding up. He didn't go down. He had fun on that Dobbs touchdown. I don't know if they showed on television his touchdown celebration. Did you see that when he was laying on the ground?
Everyone hyping up Jordan Love and Dobbs. Yeah, and Bakhtiari stretching out on the sideline like that.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Bakhtiari stretching out, but then when they scored and the rest of the offense got around Romeo Dobbs, I don't know if anybody asked David Bakhtiari what that was, where he laid on his stomach in the end zone and like kicked his legs and pounded his feet in his fists. I didn't know if he was hurt, like in agony pain. It turns out it was some kind of weird touchdown celebration. I don't know if that was something geared towards Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I don't know what the hell that was. But David Bakhtiari played well. Josh Myers, on the other hand, I'm anxious to see what his grades are through Pro Football Focus. He got his ass handed to him a few times yesterday. There was a couple of times where he was on his heels and getting bull rushed. And there's still that question mark in my mind because they tried guys out at center and we wondered if it was because Josh Myers was barely hanging on to his job or if it was just they're trying to figure out all the versatility of the offensive linemen so they can keep guys that are the best rather than just keeping a guy because he's a position. And I might think towards the former, not the latter, because Josh Myers did not look great yesterday. He was not stellar. But in the trenches, I think overall, the Packers won on both sides of the football. But
I don't have Pro Football Focus grades, Bill, but I have Andy Herman's grades. He's been grading for a long time at Packer Report. Josh Myers was the third worst of the grades. He was just in front of Sean Clifford, who came in garbage time, and John Runyon Jr. The thing is, two of their top three highest graded players were Zach Tom and David Bakhtiari. So it kind of balanced out on the O-line.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought Zach Tom played pretty well. And really, if you're not calling Zach Tom's name, that means he played pretty well. But Bakhtiari is just, he's just good. He's got great footwork. He's just, I watched him numerous times. I just put the binoculars on him and I just watched him. And it just like, he just never missed a beat. It's phenomenal to have that kind of a knee issue and still just be able to kind of walk on the field and go, okay, I got this. And that's what he did. That's what he did yesterday. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, Eric Baranchek at the Green Bay Press Gazette's going to join us. We're going to break down the film. So stay tuned for that. You want to stay tuned for that because we're going to talk a lot about a lot of the things that we've seen, we've discussed, and now we'll break down on the film with Eric. And Eric's back with us for another full season of Packers football. Looking forward to that. Let's go to Mark. Mark, welcome to the program, man. How you doing today?
Good. Bill, you touched on it with Jordan Love. I thought he had two really great, I don't want to use the word great, but the touchdown pass, the first touchdown pass to Dobbs, he sat in that pocket and it was caving in on him, and he threw a perfect ball to Dobbs. I thought that was the most impressive pass that I saw from him. And number two, we have a lot of young guys. Jaden Reed, I thought he played great for a rookie. First, he played great. Musgrave, you mentioned him. He played good. And then, Watson, he didn't even play. And then if Jordan Love can hit it somehow, this offense is going to be, you know what I'm saying? If we had Jordan Taylor instead of I just think the other running back, not Jones, but
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, if we had Jonathan Taylor, just think of what he could do on this offense with the receivers we have. This could be explosive, Bill, if Jordan Love keeps progressing. This was his first start, and he was, I thought, guarded optimism on my part, but a lot better than I thought he would do. He started out a little slow, but as the game went on, he got a lot better. And like I said, guarded optimism. But I just like the way this. Look at all the young guys that we have and how they're playing. First start, Jaden Reed was good on spec. He had a good return, and he had a good, some good catches, I thought. So I'm excited.
I am too. Appreciate the phone call. I think that, now, first of all, there's still that possibility that maybe they get Jonathan Taylor if they decide to try to delve back into that pool. We talked a little bit about A.J. Dillon and whether he's the mayor of Door County or not. Did not look good yesterday. Ran hard, but did not run with the, quote, reckless abandon. And was not able to churn out yardage, was not able to fall forward for an extra 2 or 3. So that was a little bit disconcerting. But the the backfield of Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor would be amazing, but you also got to pay them. You got to figure that out. And do you spend that money and start extending people now and doing that deal for further down the road? I mean, you're going to have money. We all know that. But do you start efforting into that pond if you don't even specifically know what it is you have right now? But I agree with you. It'd be an incredible backfield if you had both Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor on the field at the same time. I mean, who do you cover coming out of the backfield? You know what I mean? 877-867-1670. When we come back, it's time to bring him back for another year's run. We are going to talk with our buddy Eric Branchek of the Green Bay Press-Gazette. We're going to break down film, and that is going to be coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends out there at Every Plumbing and Heating. They are in La Crosse and Trempealeau and Monroe and Vernon counties. Not only is he hiring, but they are doing so much, whether it's as the weather was warm, some AC stuff. But as it starts to get cold, think about this. Think about your water heater. You know, cleaning it, draining it, making sure it's healthy, or replacing it. They can do that. What about boilers? They can do that. What about putting in a heating system within your floors? They can do that. Maybe you're like a lot of us that like to do work in the off season and you close the garage doors up, but you don't have heat in the garage. They can do that. There's so much. Call our friends out there in Alaska. 608-783-2803. 608-783-2803. Craig Every and the gang, they've been doing it 3 generations wide. Every plumbing and heating and air conditioning. And they're hiring right now. 608-783-2803. Eric Branchek next on The Bill Michaels Show.
Ready? This is The Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show, hanging in there. And Packers get a win yesterday, 38-20. Did it in just about every facet. They had a score via the defense. The offense looked good. The offensive line, there's a lot of good and bad stuff that's on film now that you can look at and you can see and you can correct. And to talk more about it, break down the film, welcome back to another season of Packers football. Our buddy Eric Branchek from the Green Bay Press-Gazette. Eric, how you doing, man?
Oh, Bill, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Appreciate it.
Let's start with give me your reaction when you wake up to today and you start to go through all of this stuff over again. Give me your thoughts on how the Packers overall played and just your overall reaction.
Oh, that's a good point. And the overall thought is this. I thought on defense they looked younger, right? They looked like they ran to the ball better. And I really liked the defensive line I thought played really well against the Bears. So could be signs of a really strong unit for their defense this year. And then flip it over to the other side of the ball. It's the same thing. I think the offensive line really played well against the Bears. Now, again, you got to kind of not get too excited, really, when you're looking at this, is because it's the Bears. And how bad are these guys? They didn't look very good. And so maybe it's one of those situations where you look good because the other team was really bad. But you got to feel really good about the things you saw with what the offensive line group did, what the defensive line group did, and them running around on defense. I thought it was really a vast improvement over what we probably saw last year.
Okay, let's talk about Jordan Love. I looked at, there were 2 or 3 times I thought the pass to Romeo Doubs into the back of the end zone for the touchdown. He did a magnificent job of looking off the middle linebacker. Dobbs did a great job of running the route, getting underneath the safety. I thought the crossing pattern was fine, that he looked at and stared down just long enough to be able to deliver the strike. There were also some opportunities that he had later in the game where he just missed. He came a little bit late to Jaden Reed. Had he gone a little bit earlier, that pass goes for at least a first down, if not more. There was one over the top to Romeo Doubs that I thought he could have had. So there was some good and some bad. Give me your reaction in that area.
It's good and bad. That's funny. That's the way, because it really is what it is. Here's my reaction. My reaction is that I really feel like he looked prepared. Okay, so like you mentioned, he missed a couple throws, but those things I think sometimes come along. I mean, everybody misses throws, everything happens, and nobody makes the perfect throw constantly. But like the one to Musgrave, tight end to the tight end of the young kid, he threw that one high. That one is and a little bit late to read. So those are some things that that he can work on. But what I really liked was him looking off safeties, looking off linebackers. I like the fact that he was okay running the football and looked like he wanted to run the football. So I think those are really the strong parts about his game that came out to me when I'm watching it. Those are the things that stood off on the screen was his maturity, and he didn't look nervous and didn't look like a scared cat when the people got close to him. He looked very, very calm, and again the mental side of looking off safeties, that's not an easy thing to do, and it takes time and it takes mental stability to be able to get it done. So I thought on that end of it was really good.
The offensive line, I know Josh Myers did not grade out well, at least according to say like Andy Herman. We haven't seen the Pro Football Focus grades yet, but I got to assume that it's going to be relatively similar. I saw him getting bull rushed a couple of times, one time on his ass. But Bakhtiari looked great. And for all the doubters out there, including myself, he just picked up where he left off and didn't really seem to have a problem. And, we know Zach Tom played pretty well, but give me your assessment of the offensive line in the trenches.
Guard center guard play was really good, from athleticism and going off and being able to get backers. I thought was really good, and they pulled those guys around the end constantly, especially on that hand sweep. They did a little bit with the power and the tight end and the counter gap stuff they did was really good with the movement of their offensive linemen. I mean, they are athletic. They stayed on blocks. With Tom, Tom, when I see Tom, I think guard center, right? When you're looking at him, how does this guy play tackle? He
right.
Just doesn't like the big right tackle, right? He doesn't have that look. But man, he blocks to the whistle blows, and he does just enough to get in the way of guys. Not overly aggressive or not overly physical, but gets it done, and that's what they need. And you're right, Bakhtiari was really good pass blocking, and the one area that I keep expecting for him to start failing is his ability to bend his knees, and it hasn't really caused a problem. He's not getting beat by power moves, and he's able to run block. So if he doesn't have to practice, heck, let him sit in the cabana and drink Kool-Aid and Mai Tais all day. Just come out and play on Sunday if he's going to continue to play like that.
So let's go defense. Give me your thoughts up front, because the young guys in Devontae Wyatt and Quay Walker played well. I thought that TJ Slayton had his moments, and, we saw a little bit of pass rush. Lucas Van Ness with the speed to be able to track down Justin Fields. It wasn't, like a consistent huge play that he had this mammoth day, but what we saw was speed, and I know that's vindication for Goody.
Oh my gosh. And I get a little bit kind of excited when I'm talking about this, so I apologize if I sound like it too. The way that they attack the quarterback, not just in the passing game, but if you remember, it's been years and years and years where it seems like the running quarterback just dices up this defense. And when you're at practice and you're standing there at any level of practice, the coaches are always preaching 11 hats to the ball, 11 hats to the ball. We got to get 11 hats on the ball. You saw that yesterday, and that's the first time in a while that you really saw that. And I attribute it to the youthfulness of their club right now. They have big, fast, strong guys. And that D-line, one of the important things for a team is you want the big guys to get on the ball. You want the big guys to be there at the tackle, to give that final little splash, to knock the ball out. And you saw that with the fumble that Fields had as Wyatt and Clark are in there, and Wyatt knocks it out. Wyatt had that big sack, and he was flying off the ball. That's what we saw him out of Georgia when he was playing at Georgia. We didn't see that last year. You saw Quay Walker show a little bit of physicalness. Certainly his mental upside is there. But the what is really inspiring, I guess, when you're watching it was this 11 hats to the ball. That was a big change. And you didn't see that as much last year, and that's what's going to help them when they face a running quarterback like Fields, is getting hats to the ball so that it doesn't get out of control.
The secondary that we had so much concern with, I saw yesterday Darnell Savage opened up early with a big hit. I saw Jair Alexander still smack talking and still playing pretty well, pretty good football. The secondary, which was such a concern, didn't really seem to have, we didn't call their names a lot because there wasn't massive problems. And we did see more aggressiveness and more man coverage out of Joe Barry yesterday.
And yeah, and blitzing blitzing a cornerback, I think that was pretty aggressive too. But let's not get excited here.
Right.
It was Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears.
Right.
So I think there's still quite a few tests for that secondary for sure. But coming up and filling in the run, filling on the screen passes, they all passed that test pretty good. Looked really good. Ford, obviously a little rusty tackling a little bit on a couple of occasions, but it's hard to get excited about the pass coverage when you got Justin Fields and the Bears. It's just tough.
Talking with Eric Branchek of the Green Bay Press-Gazette, breaking down the film from yesterday. You're right. Mike Clemens and I were driving back last night from Soldier Field, and we were both talking, and we were talking about all the good and the positive, and kind of breaking things down in a very honest way. But then we kept thinking to ourselves and kept talking about, God, the Bears were just so unimpressive. They looked almost unprepared. It's like, what was your identity? And they didn't have one. And that was so. The question Mike and I kept asking was, did the Packers just beat the worst team in the National Football League? You know what I mean?
Totally. And their offense is run the ball a couple times and then run it with your quarterback. That's not sustaining. I mean, that's not going to. I mean, they're not. Fields ain't going to end this season on the field with that kind of offense. So I just, yeah, you're right. I looked at that. And, you hear people get excited, but you really look. When I looked at it again this morning, it was really hard to get too excited. There were some positive things, without a doubt, but they couldn't throw the football. If you can't throw the football, you can't play football in the NFL. That's just the way it is. So nothing to get too excited about. I think this next week will be a little bit better, but I don't know. I 100% agree with you. It's hard to get excited about beating the Bears.
Did not know for sure. Anders Carlson was brought in because of the big leg, and we saw that with the 52-yard field goal that he hit halfway up the net and probably could have canned it from 70. But when it came to kickoffs, it was a little weird because the first couple, when you thought for sure he's just going to be booting it out of the end zone, didn't. And, they had an average return of 27.5 yards for the first two returns of the game. So, was it designed that way? Did you see? Because I couldn't figure it out. I'm thinking to myself, why are you just not booming this thing with that big leg that he had? And it wasn't like there was a strong wind coming in off the lake. That was the only downside of the kicking game or special teams that I saw yesterday.
It was too hard to tell from the TV shot to know what was going on. And when I watched the film again this morning, I couldn't tell either. But for me, I think maybe just nerves. Let's see how it is. I don't know. Maybe some teams are going to start to try to kick it short and try to get turnovers and tackles and big plays on that side of the field. But I'm with you. You got the leg. Why risk injury? Just put it in the end zone and start at the 25 and have fun.
Yeah, it was just a little bit off. I just one of those things that I noticed, and nobody else really wrote it down because, a win is the ultimate deodorant of anything negative. But I just thought, man, you've got this guy that you've been bragging about with this big leg, and the first two kickoffs, are on the one. And this was the problem that Mason Crosby had, and everybody wanted to run Mason Crosby out of town. Then again, you saw the 52-yarder, like I said, that went, 20 yards up the net and could have been good from 70. So that was positive. Eric, great stuff. As always, good to have you back again, my friend. We'll talk later this week, okay?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, bud. Talk to you soon. Eric Baranchek breaking down the Packers film. Packers going to win 38-20 over the Chicago Bears. It really wasn't even that close, to be honest with you. And the Packers got the job done. That's what you want. And to look at the film and kind of get a fresh set of eyes and get Eric back with us again this year as the band is back together. Great stuff from Eric Baranchek and the Green Bay Packers, or Eric Baranchek of the Green Bay Press-Gazette. Breaking down all the film. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the ICHC. I know it's too early to start thinking about the holidays, but they want you to, because if you're looking for some good holiday music, if you're looking for some good Irish music, and you don't have to be Irish to go enjoy and have a good time, I'll tell you that right now. Whether it's the ICHC for a concert or a wedding or some meeting space, get a hold of our buddy Corey. 414-345-8800. 414-345-8800. Right there on West Wisconsin Avenue in Milwaukee. And Cynthian is going to be there just before St. Patrick's Day. You want to get your tickets to that because that is going to be a blast. We're going to be going. We got a group of like 20 going. We're going to have just an absolute party that Saturday night, the night before St. Patrick's Day. Looking forward to it at the ICHC, Irish Cultural Heritage Center. 30 plus years getting it done. Go to ICHC.net. That is ICHC.net. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that you know that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Reminder, coming up in the next hour, or no, excuse me, an hour and, say, 20 minutes from now, our buddy Mike Clemens, he's going to join us and talk a little bit more about this Packers win. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Good stuff. Got some emails to get to, and I want to get to all of this. Got our buddy Thomas, who says, he was on the phone. Sorry about that, Thomas. Thomas was on the phone a little bit earlier. I didn't get to him. This is from Jeff in Waukesha. Great show. One thing I have to say since the beginning of training camp, do not worry about the kicking game. He was a gamer at Auburn, and Rich already has him focused, and not an issue ever, I might add. I know that it's one game with Jordan Love looks smooth. He has learned from Aaron Rodgers. He will actually run Matt's plays, and it'll be the Matt LaFleur offense. Defense looks fast. They do not. They do that. They do that. You don't worry so much on offense, but they are good. That's a little weirdly written. Jeff in Waukesha. Jeff, thanks so much for the email. I think we all need a proofread. Might be the best way to put it. 877-867-1670. JD says, Unit, thoughts on Christian Watson? My thought is trade him now and get at least some return before it's too late. He has a ton of upside. However, the hamstring is going to be an issue for his entire career. I am by no means a professional athlete, but played sports the majority of my life and happened to be one of those people that just had bad hamstrings. No matter how much I tried to prepare, it just happened. Watson seems to be the same. My prediction is he will be less than 100% for a majority of his career. He's going to miss at least two games a year because of the hamstrings. If we can get a third-round draft choice for him, I'd take it. Thoughts? JD, it's hard to give up on speed. Remember, who else had bad hamstrings? Clay Matthews had them all the time. Every year, like Puxatawny Phil coming up to see a shadow, you are always going to get an ankle injury out of Randall Cobb and a hamstring issue out of Clay Matthews, always. And if they had, now he's not Clay Matthews. He's not the Clay Matthews of the offense, I'll tell you that. But I don't think you give up on speed this quick. Not only a year into his maturity, so to speak. Let's see what happens when he comes back. Let's see if it was more precautionary than anything. And we have got something historic to talk about. It means nothing to you, but it's historic to talk about when we come back. It's historic. And I have been publicly shamed. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show. You're going to want to hear this coming up. Got a lot coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers got their season off on a very positive note yesterday, going into Chicago, hammering the Bears 38-20. Jordan Love had 3 scores. Aaron Jones scored twice, as did Romeo Doubs. It was just more of the same against their NFC North rivals, a team they've beaten 9 straight times and are 18-3 against in the last decade, all of which tackle David Bakhtiari was a part of.
I'll be honest, I've had a lot of success in the stadium against this team. I'm going to take it. And shoot, at this point, I'm going to have to lose a lot of games against the Bears for it to get some even at this point, because I've definitely, my numbers against them, the win-loss has been very favorable over the years.
The only truly concerning note coming out of the game was the status of Jones. Suffered a hamstring injury on his second touchdown, did not return. Said afterwards that he had a hamstring injury in the past. This one not as bad. He did not think it would be something that would impact him long-term. Packers back the road again this week against Atlanta. Turning to Wisconsin, they're regrouping after falling 31-22 on the road at Washington State. Going to return home to face Georgia Southern this Saturday to close out the non-conference slate.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
They believe in protecting the families and children in our farming communities. Kids love to be included in the daily farm activities, but accidents can happen quickly. Reduce the chance of injury by making sure your farm is a safe environment for adults and kids. Learn more at ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers lead in the NL Central stands at 3 games on Chicago. That's after they were unable to finish off a sweep of the Yankees yesterday, despite not allowing a hit for 10 1/3 innings in a 13-inning loss. They are now back home to face the Marlins tonight. First pitch is at 6:40. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, print.
$38-20 to final. The Green Bay Packers knock off the Chicago Bears to open up the 2023-2024 season. And in essence, still own the Bears. I was listening a little bit last night to some reaction coming out of Chicago. Now, I did not get a chance to listen to it today, but apparently Chicago radio is absolutely crucifying Justin Fields, Eberflus, and company. But that being said, look, they did not look good. The Packers beat a team that basically didn't have an identity and took care of business. And they continue the dominance over the Chicago Bears. They continue to stack wins in the rivalry, so to speak. So you take it, and for both teams, it's a learning experience. But for the Green Bay Packers, it's a learning experience with a W rather than an L. I will say this though, and I want to get into this. I want to read this real quick because I think he's listening. So Paul Charchian, and I'm in the Guillotine League. Okay, so I had quite a few starters. All right. T. Higgins, Drake London, the wide receiver out of Atlanta. I started off with Travis Kelce was my tight end, remember? And he ended up getting hurt. I had to replace him. James Conner, the running back out of Arizona. Elijah Mitchell from San Francisco. And I got Aaron Rodgers coming up tonight. Okay. And so I've got some players that are still available that are playing in tonight's contest. But the majority of my guys, for all that I did in picking the team, I picked guys that score, right? But I got hit with a massive amount of bad luck. So this is what Paul Charchian just sent out to the Guillotine League, okay? He said, quote, depending on what happens with Aaron Rodgers, Bill Michaels may make history with the lowest scoring team in site history. Bill suffered some insanely bad luck, including the Travis Kelce injury, which was made worse by Bill's replacement, Okonkwo, scoring 0 points. T. Higgins and Drake London, both good players, scored 0 points. Elijah Mitchell felt like a reasonable starter, particularly after Kyle Shanahan said he was going to dial back Christian McCaffrey's usage just a little bit, which he didn't. So if you're going to get knocked out in week 1, you may as well go down in historic fashion. My fantasy football team, for all the effort and thought that I put into this in playing these guys in particular matchups and such, and the way I drafted has been atrocious. And I could be left without a fantasy football team after week 1. Now, I need Rodgers, in looking at it, I need Rodgers to put up for me between him and their flex position tight end. I need them to put up for me almost 44 points tonight, which means Rodgers, I think, has to throw, I don't know what, 4 touchdowns. I just don't think it's going to happen. So Rodgers has to be beyond great tonight for me to have a shot at remaining in the Guillotine League's fantasy football. And I thought I was doing extremely well. I thought, man, I picked a terrific team, but T. Higgins not getting a point, and man, it was awful. Watching Joe Burrow play yesterday was awful. And then Travis Kelce going down. Boy. No news when it comes to injuries today. Guys are going to be evaluated. You're really not going to know a whole lot until you see, maybe hear from Matt LaFleur most likely on Wednesday. But you got to assume Quay Walker leaving the field yesterday, being evaluated for concussion. You hope that he doesn't have one, or at the very least, it's a mild concussion. But in today's day and age, that usually means a game. And then the hamstring injury to Aaron Jones, which probably is even more detrimental. You hope that it's not anything now that lingers. So
Aaron Jones said yesterday that it was a bite in his hamstring. It wasn't a pull. He's pulled it before. He said this wasn't that. And also, I think we'd be remiss to mention, Bill, or if we didn't mention, I thought Jayden Reed blew up his knee based on how he reacted and how he was laying on the grass, grabbing his knee. The fact that he was able to even come back into the game and he's going to be okay. Woo-hoo, that was awesome news. I thought he was done for the year.
Yeah, I kind of did too. I thought he was, when they carried him off and he couldn't put any pressure on that leg, I'm like, man, what just happened? And the weird thing was, when they showed the replay, it didn't look like he did anything. What happened was I think the knee either banged the turf or banged together with his other knee. But he didn't get hit awkwardly or anything. It wasn't like he got twisted in a different direction. But he was able to come back and play. So when I saw that, I thought, okay, he just banged it. And maybe it freaks you out because you're laying there and you're like, oh my God, did I just explode my knee? And then you're like, wait a minute, this isn't so bad. I can do this. And then you come back and you're like, okay, I dodged a bullet there, so to speak. But I agree with you. Yeah, that was somewhat scary.
Speaking of Jayden Reed, we might hear from him or Romeo Doubs, maybe one of these younger Packer wide receivers, either in the next hour when we talk to Mike. I love the vibe from Jayden Reed and Romeo Doubs. They talk like they're 10-year vets, Bill. Right. I love both of those guys. I think they fit so well for what this team needs. With all the youth, they sound and they play like they're years older than they actually are.
Yep. Speaking of that, when we come back in the next segment, we're going to hear some from Aaron Jones. And we can also, a little bit later on the show, like you said, we're going to hear from Romeo Doubs. We're going to hear from Jair Alexander, Devontae Wyatt, Darnell Savage. I'm sure we're going to hear all of that with Mike Clemens as well. But when we come back in the next segment, we're going to hear a little bit from Jordan Love and the post-game stuff from yesterday. 877-867-1670. We talked a little bit about real quick, and I want to get into this because it is a Green and Gold Monday, but the Milwaukee Brewers and where they're at right now. You'd kind of be remiss if you didn't mention the fact that the Brewers, yes, they had the no-hitter going. Yes, they ended up losing in 11 innings. Yes, they gave up quite a few runs, but also they came out of the weekend. They're 79-63, still 3 games ahead of Chicago. The weird thing is Chicago, the Brewers, and Cincinnati all are 5-5 in their last 10 games. The playoff probability right now for the Brewers is 98.5%. 98.5%. And they are they're playing, for the most part, really good baseball. And when you go back and you start to look at what they've been able to do, they've been able to win series. And as much as we've talked about that win streak a while ago when they went on the 8-9 game win streak, and then they lost 2 to Chicago. They lost 2, they won 2, they lost 2, they won 1, they lost 1, they won 2. Just hope tonight playing against Miami back at American Family Field, which, by the way, that's a 6:40 start time tonight because they go to a little bit earlier games now because of the school schedule. So when the kids go back to school, the Brewers start the games a little bit earlier. You got Brandon Woodruff on the hill. He's been extremely solid. Woodruff tonight against Miami, then Freddie Peralta, then Ray and Miley. That's the way the series shakes out. It's a 4-game series, and the Brewers do not have another day off. Until I think it's Monday the 25th. Now they don't have another day off in September until Monday the 25th. So they play 4 against the Marlins, 3 against Washington, 4 against St. Louis, then 3 at Miami, and then they have a day off before they come home for the final homestand of the season, in which they play 3 against St. Louis and then 3 against Chicago. So as things wind down, if the Brewers can get to, say, I've said it before, but a 5-game lead in the next week, it's over. We'll just declare it over, and the Brewers will win this thing. I firmly believe that. You don't want to come in 3 games or less to the series against Chicago, and you just don't want to do that. But I think the Brewers are on the cusp of winning this thing just by a couple of games. If they can just get to 5 games, it would be so incredibly tough over the next couple of weeks for the Chicago Cubs to overcome a 5-game deficit. I just think at that point in time, it will be over. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. 877-867-1670. Also, I do want to deal with, and this is from Rick, who says, hey, Bill, did you talk at all about that Badger game? We've mentioned it. It was not a good game. Twitter went crazy. All of a sudden, everybody wanting to bring back Jim Leonard. It's going to take some time. And I said this, and somebody had hit me up on I think it was Facebook, and said, "Are you serious? Really? Luke Fickell over Ryan Day?" Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't deny what Luke Fickell did at Cincinnati. Okay? With a lesser program. He didn't do it in the first year. It took him a while to kind of rebuild that program into what it is he wanted. So I thought, well, I bought into the excitement. Okay. I said 9 wins. I said possibly 10 wins. Now it could be 8. If you get into Big Ten play and this still looks bad, or a lot of question marks in the secondary and the defense, it's just going to take time. It's a different voice. It's going to take a little bit of time. Bringing in Tressel over, Jim Leonard. Yeah, that's all. That's the only voice guys have known for a while. So maybe there are some things that are different there. But the defense looks to be playing on their heels right now rather than downhill. And offensively speaking, they still have a decent run game, but the bottom line is you win up front. You win in the trenches, and they're not winning consistently in the trenches. And that's not what Wisconsin football has been. And you can't fault Luke Fickell for that. You got to build it up into the image that you want, into the way you want guys to play. So, again, we'll talk more about that, but it was a tough loss. There's no doubt about it. And Washington State treated it like they just ended up winning one of the Final Four games. They were out of their damn mind, but just not a great game. I completely agree. Not a great game. And it was disappointing, and, is what it is. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. The rest of by the way, we can hear from Luke Fickell coming up here in just a little bit. Also, he's doing his press conference right now, so we can hear some from him. The one thing I did want to mention here real quick, some of the things, the takeaways from the weekend itself. Brock Purdy looked really good. When Purdy was passed over 261 times in that draft. And boy, you talk about a find. They were incredible in week 1. They blew out the Steelers 30-7 on the road. And Purdy was selected 242 picks after Kenny Pickett, who did not look good. He didn't look good yesterday. Tua looked, and I said that if Tua is healthy, he can be a really good quarterback. He may end up being one of the better quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in that division. That's including over Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. But, man, what a day he had. He threw for 466 yards and 3 touchdowns and led the Miami Dolphins on the road against a pretty good Chargers team, 36-34. And the win over the Chargers.
Tyreek Hill had 215 yards.
Yep.
Are we sure that he's not the best wide receiver in football? Him, Justin Jefferson, what difference does it make? But I don't know if there's anyone better than him, clearly.
Let's say this, too. With the start that they had, now that it's far too early to call this a declaration, but could Tyreek Hill and Micah Parsons both be in the hunt for an MVP this year? Because traditionally it goes to a quarterback. But the way those two have played and made the impact on those teams, could we talk about Tyreek Hill and Micah Parsons, both non-quarterback positions, throwing their hat into the ring for an MVP this season with the way they've started off? Way too early, but keep that in the back of your mind. Jimmy Garoppolo, he just wins. The Raiders beat the Broncos 17-16. And talk about Sean Payton starting off his career as the head coach of the Broncos, pulling the old trick out of the bag from the Saints win, going back to when they knocked off the Indianapolis Colts and kicking an onside kick. Now he did it in the beginning of the second half of the Super Bowl, but he started off his season kicking an onside kick and losing it. Just, man. Garoppolo had the one bad pick in that game. I was going back and looking at some of the highlights, but he rebounded, and Garoppolo, not viewed as an elite quarterback, but his teams are 41-17 in his starts. Did you know that? That Garoppolo, when he starts, is 41-17. Now, again, you can't take all the credit for wins and you can't take all the credit for losses, but Jimmy Garoppolo, 41-17 in career starts. You take that all day long. The Rams were supposed to be bad without Cooper Kupp, but Matthew Stafford still played pretty well. They went in and knocked off Seattle. Jim Schwartz decided to just haul off and beat the hell out of Joe Burrow in Cleveland, and that defense beat him up. They blitzed him all day long, and Joe Burrow looked like a deer in the headlight. Baker Mayfield got a win. Yesterday was kind of a strange day in the NFL. But a lot of great stuff to kind of nosh on a little bit. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, do so. We're going to hear from Jordan Love when we come back. Stay tuned. Whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show is coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at the Four Seasons Island Resort. They are up in Pembine, Wisconsin, and I love this place. It's right in the middle of the Muscano River on the island, and thus the Island Resort. And they still have the ATV and UTV trails are open. But if you're thinking about something later in the season and you want to do some snowmobiling, they're also taking reservations for late November, December, January, February. Great place to go. A lot of fun. The snow usually is pretty good pack up there at that time of year. Call them 715-938-5110. Get a hold of our girl Barb, 715-938-5110. And tell them you heard it here. Say Michael's 15 for 15% off of your stay, but it's not too late if you want to go play some golf. If you want to go to Four Seasons and play golf there on the 9-hole executive, or to Timberstone at Pine Mountain, you can do that as well. Their sister resort, both places fantastic. Call Barb, 715-938-5110.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that you know that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, made sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
If you are looking for a career, we all know the word Kemp's. Kemp's has been in everybody's, so whether it's the dairy cooler at your local grocery store or maybe your own refrigerator or freezer. Kemp's has been around a long time, and if you're looking for not just a job, but a career, they're looking for you. That's why they say you click on careers, not just a job, but careers at the bottom of the page over on Kemp's, Kemp's.com. Go to KEMPS, Kemp's.com. They're looking for CDL drivers. They're willing to pay sign-on bonuses. They're $23 an hour plus for many positions and different benefits that go along with it as well. They're looking for some of the cooler production people, some maintenance technicians. Kemp's is hiring. And if you are looking for a career, not just a job, go to Kemp's, Kemp's.com. Click on careers at the bottom of the page, and you're good to go. It's that simple. KEMPS, Kemp's.com. That is Kemp's.com. Good stuff. Jordan Love, after the ball game yesterday, got into the discussion with the reporters back and forth, and one of the things that he wanted to make an emphasis of was this was for him. And now I always say it, because the word "great" is used far too often, but he said this was a great opening win.
It feels great. Obviously, that was planned for us, coming in here and starting the season off the right way. And I think we did that in all phases. The second half for us was huge today. You can just feel that momentum, switching. It just feels good to get a win.
The 35-yard touchdown pass to Aaron Jones. This is how it happened. Take a listen.
It was a choice route by him, and that's my first read right there. Saw man coverage, the backer playing him man, and then actually Edmonds, was the plug player, and he worked opposite of that. And when he did that, I knew it was going to be open for Jones. I knew he was going to kill him on the choice route, which he did, and just had to get him the ball, and he made the rest happen.
And one of the things that I thought Jordan Love did was, if they had a negative play, if they had a play that didn't work or he missed, he did a really good job he talks about bouncing back from some of those negative plays.
That's what we tell everybody in the locker room. It's never going to be perfect. You wish every play went as you draw it up and execute it perfectly, but there's times things are going to go south and it's not going to be perfect for us. And just be able to play that next play, bounce back, and just find a way to go, convert third downs and things like that is huge. But like I said, it's never going to be perfect, but I love the way how we bounce back.
And I talked about the pressure on Jordan Love coming into this game because of the whole "I own you," exclamation out of Aaron Rodgers, which we all love, and we love to continue to say that. And I did see the meme running around of the quick claim deed that Aaron Rodgers signed over to Jordan Love as far as ownership of the Chicago Bears, which is awesome. But he just said, look, it's great to win the first Packers-Bears game he's played in.
Obviously, coming in here, we knew what type of game we were in for. Obviously, my first game in this rivalry. So, it felt good. They're a good team. Obviously, first half was close, and the second half, the way we bounced back and came out there in the second half and just total domination, felt good.
The moment when you coming out of a tunnel and you're now the man, and you always know the first time you come out of a tunnel as just a player. You always know the first time you come out of the tunnel as maybe a starter. But now, running out of the tunnel after two legends, not one, but two, with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And now you're coming out of the tunnel, especially in the storied rivalry that it is. You're coming out of the tunnel as the man. And he said he was just able to kind of enjoy the moment before the game.
Matt actually told a story of his first year coaching here. They came here and opened the season out, and the guy who sang the national anthem, so he was the same guy, and he said the crowd was just going crazy the whole time, and right before he's like, it's the same guy. So just having that moment, the crowd is going crazy just for the national anthem. It was a surreal moment, and I was able to just take it all in.
By the way, and I want to say this, I'm not disparaging the guy, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, that sings the national anthem for the Chicago, Blackhawks and Bulls and Bears and all that stuff. I think Ben Tajnai is as good, if not better. Just saying, throwing that out there. He did enjoy the moment. He ended up getting a win. And the other aspect of this is, and I had said this at the beginning of the show, there was a lot of good. There's some bad and some things that this team, he said, we can work on.
I think it started with the opening drive, defense getting that stop on fourth down, and then us getting the short field and going and scoring. It started off great. I think the 2-minute drive to end the half, got to clean that up. I took a sack on, we didn't have much time left, running clock, and almost put us out of field goal position. So things like that, just be able to clean up and then not getting a playoff right there at the end too. But I think it's things that, we'll learn and grow from.
He's right. That sack that he took, you got to get rid of the football. You cannot take a sack in that situation. Now, the benefit is that you had a kicker that's able to clean it up, but you were within 40 yards and you took, I think it was an 11-yard sack on that particular play, which drove it back to 52-yard field goal. You cannot take a sack in that position. You just can't. You got to be more knowledgeable and more aware at that particular point in time. Now, the pass protection throughout the day, for the most part, really, really solid. He talks about even, the pass protection being led by veteran David Bakhtiari.
Dave hasn't practiced all week, but he's a vet. He's a pro. He knows what he has to do to get himself ready to go out there and play. He was able to get, walk through reps and things like that. But for him to go in there, step in, and without practicing a lot of, the time, it's huge.
So there you go. That's Jordan Love. We'll hear more from him when Mike Clemens joins us coming up in about 45 minutes from now. Coming up after the bottom of the hour, though, I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the Badgers and what happened over the weekend, because it was just, for lack of a better term, it was an ugly game. It was just that. And Zach Heilprin, sports director for WOZN, our flagship station out in Madison, Zach is going to join us and talk a little bit more about that as well. So stay tuned. 877-867-1670. We'll try to get some phone calls coming up here in about 20 minutes from now as well. So stay tuned for that. Got to say thanks to our friends at Point Brewing. Our friends up at Stevens Point, they got Oktoberfest coming up. So a lot of different beers coming out for that as well. Look for that brewery to be pumping out Oktoberfest beer coming in your direction anytime soon. Brewing excellence since 1857, locally brewed right here in the state of Wisconsin.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You want to be in the action? I mean, like really in the action? Check out our friends at Potawatomi Hotel Casino with the sports book. They got a temporary one that's open now, but the big one is coming. Oh my goodness, it's going to be beautiful, and that's coming probably towards the end of the year. But if you want to get in the action now, you can go to Potawatomi Hotel Casino Milwaukee. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. Joining us now is our guy, Zach Heilprin, and from the Zone out in Madison, the sports director there, and had a chance to up close and personal watch, for lack of a better term, the ugly game that was. Zach, what was your takeaway from the Saturday and the Badgers loss?
Horrible start, horrible finish, pretty good middle, I think is where I would go. Obviously, you can't get down 24-6. Fought back, had a chance to win that game. They're 24-22. You get the ball back at the 50-yard line with about 6.5 minutes left, and you fumble. And obviously, Washington State goes down and takes a touchdown, gets a touchdown, goes up 9, the game's over essentially. So, yeah, you can't put yourself in that position on the road against a team that is now a team that's in the top 25, the AP top 25. You can't do that on the road in a hostile environment like that. And they still almost fought all the way back and got back, but yeah, the start and the end just not good enough for Wisconsin.
So I people were, like, because I've always said I would have taken, Luke Fickell over Ryan Day any day of the week. And to me, it's just one of those things where I bought into the hype. It's going to take a little bit of time. You got to get his guys playing his style, that type of thing. It takes a little while to kind of readjust a program. So, but I agree with you. You can't get down. You can't turn the ball. It's the little things that you're not accustomed to seeing out of a Luke Fickell coach team, specifically when Cincinnati ended up going to the Final Four in the BCS. So I don't think that like it's these dark clouds that are on the horizon. I just think that this is one of those learning, films, so to speak, where they can bounce back from. But it does make you raise an eyebrow because this is not a crisp, clean team by any stretch of the imagination,
Yeah, no way it is. And we saw in the first week they were able to avoid some of the pre-snap penalties, some of the post-snap penalties. It killed them against Washington State. They had obviously what turned out to be pretty significant 15-yard penalty on Caden Johnson after a punt. They were about to set up at the 34-yard line, 24-22 right there. You're sitting up at the 34. It feels like you're just about to go in and take the lead, and you get a penalty, and two plays later, the fumble. So not crisp whatsoever there. And then the turnovers. Yeah, you turn the ball over 3 times. Tanner Mordecai obviously charged with 2 of those, but Jack Nelson just got beat and twice, and one resulted in a touchdown. Those are things that you just can't have happen. They've now turned it over 5 times. They haven't forced a turnover either. Like, that's another big part of this. They have yet to force a turnover on defense. Back-to-back games, just the second time since 2016 they've gone back-to-back games without forcing a turnover. Those are things that you would expect a Luke Fickell team to be able to do, not hurt itself, and win the turnover battle. And they really haven't done that through these first 2 games.
So Wisconsin now coming up on the docket. You've got Georgia Southern, and that's a game that's at Camp Randall coming up. Was it this next weekend, 11 a.m. Start time? But then you get into Purdue, and then you get in, because you got to go on the road. West Lafayette's a really goofy place to play. But this is not Big Ten level football yet. And this is why you hope that against Georgia Southern, they're able to correct a lot of this and really kind of hit the ground running going into Purdue. You only got a week to kind of fix a lot of your issues and some of the problems that they've had. But I wanted to ask you this. Is there something, when you look at bright spots, they still can run the football, but it's not your typical Badger offensive line. They still can put pressure on a quarterback, but it's not your typical Badger outside linebackers. They can still cover, but it looks like there's still confusion. You know what I mean? It's like every time you look at something good, there's also something, and by the way, that's going to give you back to the negative side of things that hasn't been crisp and clean for this team. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you put up 314 yards rushing in week 1, and then you rush for 90 yards in week 2.
Right.
They could not run the ball against Washington State whatsoever. It was not great. And then, explosive pass plays given up in the secondary. They did such a good job. They did such a poor job, I should say, for the first 3-4 drives of the game against Washington State. Then they locked back in, and they gave up, I think it was like 15 yards over the next 6 drives. That's like the maddening inconsistency, I think, is maybe what you're getting at a little bit, Bill, is the fact that they have the ability to do some of these things. They didn't pass protect Tanner Mordecai very well in the first half. He had extensive time to throw for the most part in the second half. And it's just the maddening inconsistency is, I think, what is really tough to deal with if you're a Wisconsin fan. Because we were talking about this on the way out of the stadium on Saturday night, is the third quarter Badgers that we've seen against Buffalo and we saw against Washington State. That's the team that I think a lot of people thought they could be. And can they do that on a consistent basis? And that honestly is really the crux of every football team. They always show these little bursts, and can they be this team all the time? Well, Wisconsin has shown extended bursts, especially in the third quarter, these first 2 games of the team they can be. Now, can they put that all together and make it work and be the team that it reached the expectations that so many people had for this team, even if they may have been a little bit unrealistic just because of the turnover, the coaching staff, and so many changes player-wise?
I do look at Tanner Mordecai, and I think, it's a short passing game that's been successful. He's throwing for almost 70%, completing almost 70% of his passes, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like he's way off the mark and putting the ball in harm's way on a consistent basis. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a few things that you can look at positively. Yeah. A lot of checkdowns, don't get me wrong, but he's not like putting the ball in harm's way. It's not like he's just bad quarterback play,
Yeah, so I was extremely impressed how he bounced back from the 2 blindside hits that knocked the ball loose. He was really good, I thought, especially in the third quarter. I know we keep on going back to it, but he some of those passes down the field, I mean, he hit Bryson Green for a big shot. He hit Jim Radicka. I know you mentioned the checkdowns, and that's been a big part of it, but he hit some passes down the field on Saturday night that certainly opened up your eyes a little bit, and he was just off on a couple of others. And there was a shot to Bryson Green on what would have been, if he had put it exactly where he needed to put it, it would have been a 50-some-odd yard touchdown, and they take the lead. Like, those are just the little, you mentioned earlier in the questions, just the little things. It's just the little, you're a little off here, a little off there, and things look so much different. Skylar Bell catching that 60-yard touchdown pass the week before, his numbers just look so much different. People are talking about it differently. Those are things that stand out to me when they don't go well. But you're right. He impressed me. And there was not a better thrower that a Wisconsin quarterback maybe has made in quite some time than his touchdown to Skylar Bell, fleeing to his left, a guy right on top of him, and he's able to put it right in the spot for Skylar Bell to get what would have been an NFL catch, got both feet in. Just an amazing pass, an amazing play by a Wisconsin quarterback that I don't think we've seen in quite some time. So there are things to be excited about with Tanner Mordecai. There's no doubt about that.
I go back to your, discussing the third quarter. I thought, looking at that first half and the way they were running the football, I thought, you know what, you'll keep grinding it. And this is what Wisconsin does. They don't look great in the first half, but in the second half, they grind on you, they get you down, and then they take over in the run game. Why did they get away from Chez Mellusi? Just because the score was starting to get a little bit one-sided?
So Luke Fickell was asked about that today, and some of it was, what Washington State did. They did a great job of stopping the run in the first half. They did a great job holding the edges and not allowing Wisconsin to get outside whatsoever. That included, obviously, Braylon Allen. And then, some of the stuff that was being taken away with Washington State, I don't want to say that they were forcing Wisconsin to pass, but they were saying, pass, we don't think you can. And that was essentially what Wisconsin had to go out and do, and they showed that they could beat them in the past, and that was what the third quarter was. I think that's maybe why they got away from the run game a little bit, but they averaged like 2-point-something yards to carry. And I know that's what you want to do, but when you're down 24-6 on the road, and I guess it was 24-9 at half, you kind of need to open it up a little bit, and this offense has the ability to do it. So the idea that, what Wisconsin has been for so long, and that's how, it's always going to be, I don't think it is with this team. I think they can beat you in several different ways, and we saw that with the passing game in the third quarter.
They don't have, in my opinion anyway, the offensive line that is going to beat you down. And we've seen, and that's why I go back to my question of, normally in the third quarter, we'd always see a big offensive line like Wisconsin's grind you into the ground, and then you're just worn ass out, and then they can run the ball almost at will. My point being, I don't think they can do that. I think they have to be a balanced attack moving forward. And I just don't know if they have the pass catching weapons consistently to get open and create a pass game that then would, almost like West Coast style, accentuate that run game and open things up for Braylon Allen and Chez Mellusi. You know what I mean?
I don't want to completely disagree with you, Bill. I don't. But I kind of do think they have the passing attack.
Do you think so?
I do. I think Chimere Dike has the ability to get downfield and beat guys downfield. I think Bryson Green showed on Saturday night he's got that ability. If a defense is going to play press man on you, like Washington State did, you're going to have to be able to beat man coverage and make them pay by beating you down the field. And Wisconsin did it a couple times on Saturday night, and they were inches away from doing it a couple more times. That, to me, is going to be a big part of this Wisconsin offense, because teams are going to make them show that you can do one or the other. I thought Buffalo tried to show them, all right, try and run the ball. And Wisconsin ran the ball down their throat. And in the third quarter, after they had, it really opened up in the third quarter, but after they had, leaned on them a little bit there in the first half with the pace, they were able to run the ball in the third quarter. I do think they have Will Pauling and Chimere Dike and Skylar Bell and Bryson Green. They have a lot of guys, I think, that have the ability to beat teams through the air. I do. So now, do they have a Marvin Harrison Jr.? Absolutely not. But they have guys that can beat coverage, and we saw that on Saturday night. And it's just a little off in being able to finish off and beat those guys on a regular basis.
Man, I hope you're right. I hope that they end up proving that throughout the season. Now, let me ask you this moving forward. So what do you expect this coming Saturday? What are you looking for?
It's a tough one, right? Because Georgia Southern went into Nebraska last year and won. Luke Fickell mentioned that this morning. They're 2-0. They beat UAB last week, 49-35. So they're a team that can put some points on it. I think this is an opportunity for Wisconsin to get back on the right track before going to Purdue. And I look, I think they're going to beat Georgia Southern. I'm just interested to see how they go about doing it. because we saw in the first week, run the ball. Second week, the passing game was kind of where things were at. Can they put together a complete game offensively? And then on defense, it's the blown assignments that showed up in both week 1 and week 2. And they made an interesting change there at safety, removing Kamoi Latu after a couple of missed assignments on his part, and they were a lot more sound the rest of the game. So can they eliminate those big plays? Because for the most part, they've been able to hold running games in check so far. It's just the big plays that have hurt them.
Great stuff as always. Appreciate it, and we'll talk real soon, okay?
All right, sounds good, Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. There you go. Zach Heilprin, sports director, WOZN out in Madison, bringing it to us, giving us a little bit of the Badger lowdown, because the Badgers, again, that was not an impressive game. And look, I didn't think they were going to the BCS championship or anything like that. I still think they can win the West. I think they can do that. But they got to play a lot better football. And he's right on some of the things that they missed on. You got to start hitting on. And if you do, then it changes the dynamic, offensively speaking, anyway, of that team, without a doubt. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I want to remind you, our friends over there at Skipper Buds, not only do they say that there's still some great deals to be had on boating, but as you're starting to think about it, like I am, if you're going to start thinking about storage and winterization, which is so incredibly important, my God, don't I know that, you better go to somebody qualified that can do it, get the job done, and get the job done right for you. The health of your boat depends on it. And so you want to go ahead and give them a call. 262-544-1200. They do boat sales, obviously, service, obviously, and storage. You can get your boat shrink wrapped if you want to do that. Not let anything in it. You open it up next season, it's as clean as it was the day you took it in. And man, don't I know that. So get a hold of our friends over there at Skipper Buds. Todd is the GM out there in Pewaukee, which is the one I go to. Otherwise, you can just go to Skipper Buds anywhere. But 262-544-1200. That's 262-544-1200. Skipper Buds, boat sales, service, and storage.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that you know that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Hit it, bang it, rock it, put it in the pocket. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. All good. Coming up here, 20 minutes. Mike Clemens going to join us, take us the rest of the way. Looking forward to that. Got to say, speaking of taking you the rest of the way, our friends at Cunis RV, automotive, trucks, they've got it all. And whether it's the automotive side out in Madison, Stoughton, Barneveld, Elkhorn, Lake Geneva, Platteville, they're even in Milwaukee now. You can shop Cunis, S-H-O-P, Cunis, shopcunis.com for the great warranties that they have on all their vehicles, new and used for that matter, and some terrific ways to get lower interest rates and take care of you. And they even have, if you don't have great credit, they even have opportunities there as well. Go to shop, S-H-O-P, shopcunis.com, shopcunis.com. This is from Adam, just says simply, waking up this morning, go Pack Go. Mike says if people were thinking the Badgers were going to have an FCS run this year, a loss like that already has sealed their fate. I don't think anybody really was kind of fooling themselves to thinking that this is going to be an outstanding Badgers team. I think that most of us just kind of felt like it would be a better Badgers team, right? That's it. Brandy says the only thing I didn't like was Love doing taking those big hits while running. He's got to cut that out. You know what though? If you can avoid taking the direct hit, that's not a bad way to go. You can take a hit if you don't take the direct hit. So that's not a bad way to go. Thomas says Love was a little bit off in some early throws, but it was probably the jitters. He hit it when it counted, which with 3rd and 4th down is when he really kind of succeeded. I don't know if you noticed that or not, if you look at the statistics, but 3rd and 4th down, he played some good football. Michael says Packers are going to have to be aggressive and focus on Robinson and the Falcons. He looks like the real deal. Correct. And you know what? You're going to find out as well when it comes to Atlanta is Ritter, what kind of quarterback he is. I mean, pretty solid opening game. Pretty solid opening game when you look at what the Atlanta Falcons were capable of doing. Now, granted, they were playing at home and they were playing Bryce Young, and Bryce Young went through his growing pains yesterday, without a doubt. But when you started kind of scouring the statistics, I mean, Desmond Ritter, 15 of 18, nothing spectacular. They ran the ball. Robinson and Allgeier both ran the ball. Allgeier ran for a little over 5 yards a carry, I think. And as you mentioned before, Robinson ran extremely well. But Bryce Young throwing the 2 picks yesterday, not great and not the best way to start, obviously. And the Atlanta Falcons took advantage of it. But Robinson coming out of the backfield as well. It wasn't like he had huge yardage out of the backfield, but he is a pass catcher as well. So he's kind of a dual threat that you're really going to have, like you said, have to keep your eye on. But Ritter's, again, that's a Luke Fickell guy, by the way. But Ritter's I want to say solid quarterback, but I think he's average at best. And the Packers are going to have their hands full, no doubt. But these are 2 really good ways to start. Can you imagine coming back to Lambeau Field? Now, I live under the assumption of dare to dream at this point, but can you imagine coming to Lambeau Field a week from Sunday against New Orleans and you're 2-0 to start the season 2-0, and you don't have this juggernaut of a schedule to roll through. It's not like it has been in years past. You've got a little bit easier schedule. Who knows, right? Could this team kind of, win a few extra games and get themselves into the postseason? And, I dare to dream again. That's the dare to dream segment, but not a bad way to go. Good start. But much like myself, and I keep telling everybody this, don't get over your skis. It's one game. It's one game in a long season. We'll wait and see what happens. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, do so. The Huddle is back coming up on Wednesday night, 6 to 8. The Bill Michaels Huddle is back, and we'll have guests. We'll have commentary throughout the week. It'll be football-oriented, much like a Green and Gold Monday. And we're going to talk a lot of Packers football. And we'll start looking over the fence towards Atlanta as well and get into that realm. But good stuff coming up on Wednesday as the Huddle is back. And we are going to be out and about in a neighborhood near you. The first one's in studio here. But after that, we're going to start cranking it up. We'll start getting out and about. We're going to have some fun this year. We're going to move all over the state of Wisconsin. And we're going to solidify the dates at Nuts Deep 2. We're going to solidify the dates out of Norwegian Hollow. We're going to be moving all over the state of Wisconsin. I promise you. Coming up, 15 minutes away, our buddy Mike Clemens is going to join us. He was inside the locker room as we were doing the postgame show yesterday. And Mike will give us his thoughts on what he witnessed and what we discussed coming home last night about this contest. Stay tuned. We got another hour of the Bill Michaels Show yet to go. We'll be back. More to come right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers got their season off on a very positive note yesterday, going into Chicago, hammering the Bears 38-20. Jordan Love had 3 scores. Aaron Jones scored twice, as did Romeo Doubs. It was just more of the same against their NFC North rivals, a team they've beaten 9 straight times and are 18-3 against in the last decade, all of which tackle David Bakhtiari was a part of.
I'll be honest, I've had a lot of success in the stadium against this team. I'm going to take it. And shoot, at this point, I'm going to have to lose a lot of games against the Bears for it to get some even at this point, because I've definitely, my numbers against them, the win-loss has been very favorable over the years.
The only truly concerning note coming out of the game was the status of Jones. Suffered a hamstring injury on his second touchdown, did not return. Said afterwards that he had a hamstring injury in the past. This one not as bad. He did not think it would be something that would impact him long-term. Packers back the road again this week against Atlanta. Turning to Wisconsin, they're regrouping after falling 31-22 on the road at Washington State. Going to return home to face Georgia Southern this Saturday to close out the non-conference slate.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Farmers deal with a lot, including long days, stress, and fatigue. This is your reminder to take breaks, stretch, have a snack, and hydrate your body. Avoid farm accidents by keeping yourself healthy. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn how Rural Mutual supports Wisconsin farmers and prioritize safety on the farm.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers lead in the NL Central stands at 3 games on Chicago. That's after they were unable to finish off a sweep of the Yankees yesterday, despite not allowing a hit for 10 1/3 innings in a 13-inning loss. They are now back home to face the Marlins tonight. First pitch is at 6:40. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, print.
Welcome in, one and all, on a Monday edition, 38-20. Packers get the knockoff. Beat the Bears. The Bears go down. Beat the Bears. And I got to tell you, being in that city for a couple of days, took a lot of pleasure in that. Between the Bears and the Cubs fans, took a lot of pleasure in that. Really did. Good to see Jordan Love get off on the right foot. Good to see a lot of Packers fans, by the way. We had a couple of them from Holman, Wisconsin, that came by to the postgame show. I saw Susie and, God, I think his name was Chuck. And I apologize, Susie, your husband's name. But they stopped by over at the Sheridan Grand after the fact. And we had Trent. Trent, by the way, is from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Used to listen to us all the time on WHBL, but now listens on the Zone app, which is awesome. Trent from Sheboygan. He was there with his kids, and they came over and said hi to us. As a matter of fact, when we were at Elkhart Lake at Road America, they came over and said hi when we had the RV set up. So they were down there. They were enjoying the victory. A lot of Packers fans in the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk, by the way, and I do want to say thanks again. One of the things that I do love about the city of Chicago, there's two things specifically. One is my guy Ryan and the group over at the House of Blues. I love going to the House of Blues. Whenever I get to a good concert, I love to go there. And then the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk, which is just spectacular. It's a great hotel. Every year it's the same. I love Michael out front. The minute you pull up and the Irish brogue, and he comes over and greets you and says hello and remembers your name, and the staff and management down there at the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk. And if you by chance are going to head down to Chicago for the holiday season and do a little shopping, that's where you want to go stay. Just enjoy the night, sit at the Shy Bar. We ate at Shula's. Shula's Steakhouse is inside the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk. We had a great time. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up and get your voice to be heard, by all means, give us a shout. We would love to hear from you. 877-867-1670. Got a lot to get to in this particular hour. Coming up here in about 15 minutes, we're going to be talking with Mike Clemens. He's going to break down what he saw yesterday and also some of the commentary coming out of inside the locker room. So we got all that to get into as well. Maxie says, hey, guys, are we overlooking something? Joe Barry actually called a somewhat aggressive game plan. Do you think that's because he's finally listening to his players? Also, he said, I agree with you, Matt LaFleur called a creative game yesterday as well. Going to the Joe Barry thing, it's probably a combination. They started playing better towards the end of the season last year. They were playing aggressive. They were playing some man. They were just kind of getting after it, okay? I don't know if you saw the video. If you haven't seen it already, go to the Facebook fan page or follow me over on Twitter or on Instagram. I posted it everywhere. But yesterday in pregame warmup, I showed the offense going against the defense. And then the defense, they huddle up, they take like 3 steps back, and then they all act like they're shooting a basketball. And it's like these rituals that they have. Now, you may go, oh, big deal. There's a camaraderie there, defensively speaking. It's like everybody's got everybody's back. It's really kind of cool. Go see it if you haven't already. It's over on Facebook. It's on Twitter. You'd have to search for it a little bit. It's on my Instagram page. All of them, Facebook and Instagram, are both The Bill Michaels Show. Go see it. But it's just, and even Rashawn Gary's in on it, because I'm thinking to myself, oh, Rashawn, don't jump. And he was in on it. But there's a camaraderie there. So my point being is, when you're comfortable with the guys around you and you're not trying to do too much, you're trying to just do your job. It really doesn't matter what you run if everybody's doing their job and doing their job correctly, because then you should have success. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying it's Joe Barry being this, oh my God, we've discovered a new Joe Barry. But I think it's the fact that he's got a little more trust in his guys. The guys have trust in each other, and it's one game. But I keep hearing in my head all throughout the offseason, Brian Gutekunst had used the term aggressive and pressure so many times when talking about the defense. They need to be more aggressive. They need pressure on the quarterback. They need to figure out, because he kept saying, we've got the talent. We've got the talent. Just have to figure out a way to get more pressure on the quarterback. So I think that's something that also resonated, whether it's in the coach's walls or inside the walls of that locker room. And they were pretty good with it yesterday.
I don't mean to take any credit away from Joe Barry, because his unit played great, but I think a lot of his players took a step from last year to this year, like Devontae Wyatt and Quay Walker and Slayton. Everyone talks about Slayton. And Bill, for whatever reason, the Packers look ready to play week 1 this year. And that hasn't been the case for the last 4 years. Right? I don't know what's different. I mean, Aaron Rodgers left. I'm not saying that Rodgers was the reason they didn't show up ready to play the last few years, but this team showed up ready from the jump on Sunday, and that hasn't been the case for years and years and years, in week 1 at least.
I will say this, the guy that we were worried about was Darnell Savage, and he had 10 tackles. He had a tackle for loss yesterday. He, I'm not going to say pass defended, but he had a couple of plays where the ball didn't get thrown really well in his direction. And you talk about having a pretty decent game. The guy that we were probably the most concerned with as far as being the anchor of the safeties after the season that he had last year, finding his way a little bit into the doghouse and such, guy played really well. You talk about kind of a comeback, and that hit that he had, and I can't even remember I don't know who it was, the ball carrier at the time, but he had a hit and people went, "Oh my goodness," like they'd never seen it before. And I said, go back to his rookie season. I loved Darnell Savage because he was a hitter. He was living up to the Savage name. He was a guy that loved to hit. And we saw a little bit of that again yesterday. So yesterday, Darnell Savage led the team in tackles, by the way. 10 combined tackles, 5 solos, and 5 assists. Rasul Douglas with 6 solos and a couple of assists as well. Then you had Keyshawn Nixon. Devondre Campbell was in there yesterday. Keyshawn Nixon also had a big one, tackle for a loss yesterday. But Devontae Wyatt, like you had mentioned, he had 1.5 sacks yesterday. You had Kenny Clark getting in on one as well when they collapsed the pocket. You had Brooks with a sack yesterday and a 9-yard loss. So you had quite a few. You had Jair Alexander getting after it in the secondary. Not only did they not throw to him consistently, but when they did, he was pretty aggressive, and I like that. And he's still a trash talker. He's still giving it to people. So I like that as well. And Angabari had a pass defended yesterday. He was credited with one. So I thought it was but again, did the Packers make the Bears look that bad, or are the Bears just that bad of a team with no identity, no concept, no real cohesiveness? But I keep going back to the conversation that Mike and I had in the press box prior to the game where they said, the most undercovered story in Chicago all preseason was the fact that Justin Fields didn't have a good preseason. He's not a Mensa meeting member, and all he can do is basically run the football. And nobody was covering that because he's, as this person told us, the media is interested in hyping up the team and creating this good feeling right now and trying to give Justin Fields all, because they really like him. Justin Fields is a really good guy. They like him. They want him to succeed. They really like him because he's a nice guy. But it's just he's more athlete than he is quarterback.
It was a lot of bubble screens and little quick hitters to the outside. And when the Packers got up, Bill, and they started playing with confidence, I felt like the Bears just played right into the Packers' hands because the Packers could just fly up and hit guys.
Right.
And it was all these screens that were getting blown up and little quick hitters that were going nowhere. I just felt like there was no deep threat. There was no threat that the Bears were going down the field.
Exactly.
That just killed them.
Nope, I would agree. 100%. 877-867-1670. Don't forget, we have got Mike Clemens coming up here in about 5 to 7 minutes. We're going to be he's going to join us, and we're going to talk a little bit more all the way through the rest of the hour about this Packers win over the Chicago Bears, and we'll hear a lot of sound from inside the locker room. Let's see here, winning gambler, Bears in for a long year, it looks like. I would agree. The Bears may be one of the worst 5 teams in football this year. I don't know about the worst, but one of the worst 5 teams in football. No doubt.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, Bill, and I know we got to get to Mike, but I was listening to a little bit of the score last night just because I had to.
See, by the time we got the score on, they already had the Sunday night game on, so we didn't get a chance to hear all that reaction. We heard a little bit on ESPN 1000, but that was it.
Well, first of all, I was disappointed because I wanted them to be angry. I wanted to be entertained, and they were sitting around talking about scheme and we got a block. It's like, hey, you should be having a meltdown. You should be embarrassed. You should be mad. So I didn't get all the energy I was hoping for, but they were talking about, Bill, how Ryan Poles spent money on TJ Edwards, right, and Tremaine Edmonds and all these linebackers. And they're like, these linebackers don't make a damn bit of difference if your defensive line can't pressure the quarterback and your back end can't cover. So now you're just stuck with these linebackers you spent all this money on, and they don't do anything for you because your front end and back end stink.
And their defense, really the time to shine was probably about 4 years ago. That was the time for 4 or 5 years ago. That was the time for them to shine. And since then, it's been kind of a piecemeal. And then they got rid of Roquan Smith because his contract was going to be big, and they didn't want that. And they're going to rebuild. But they have just tried to piecemeal this thing together. And it's really, it's to me, it all started. And this just goes to show you when you have a bad general manager, when they grab Mitch Trubisky, and at the time their defense was ascending, and they put this young guy that they had no business drafting in this situation, and they hung on to him like grim death. because he was just going to succeed. And it was a dismal failure. It was awful. And it just goes to show you that when you have, one, a dumb general manager, and two, a dumb general manager who will then hang on to dumb mistakes, it will take down a franchise for, it could be a decade or more. Who knows? It's just, man, it's awful. Jason, no update on Quay Walker today. Probably not going to find out more about him maybe until probably Wednesday. You may get a little bit, but nah, not much. Tidbit says, don't forget, it's not a real stadium. Oh, place is terrible. Place is terrible. It's absolutely awful. It was funny. I'm standing in line, and I hate to knock because it's so easy. And it's these first world problems. But yesterday, they ran out of food for the media. Okay, now we get there 4.5 hours before the game, and you kind of come expecting to eat, so you can get something to drink, get something to eat. They ran out of food. I mean, and they said, we'll be up in 10 minutes. We'll have more food in 10 minutes. And it was like an hour, maybe more. And about 20 minutes before kickoff, they came up, and then they had salmon and some chicken and stuff. But by then, everybody had kind of given up. All they kept feeding everybody was fruit. And everybody just went back to their seats. And the press box is so disorganized anyway. It's just, it's so terrible. And I just looked over at Mike Clemens, and one of the PR staff from the Bears heard me say it. And I said, well, maybe the new stadium will be better. Because I know the talk came out yesterday that there's more negotiations between the city and the Bears about actually staying in Chicago, which if the Bears do that, they're stupid. They don't own any of that land around that place. They're not getting anything really from it. They can't develop the land around Soldier Field. It's in the middle of a park and next to a marina. It's old. It's antiquated. It's the updated version sucks. It's just two of the worst stadiums I go to are in Chicago, and that's Wrigley, which is short of being a spectator and sitting in the seats and watching the game. Everything else is just a toilet, and in Soldier Field, which is just awful. And even the reconfiguration was just a travesty to that place. But anyway, let's do this. We got Mike Clemens going to be joining us coming up next. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show right around the corner. This portion of the program, though, brought to you by our buddy Dwayne at Dwayne's, DUANES. Dwayne's Cover It All. Call him 715-870-2119. The cover is on my boat. He fixed the snap on it, which was awesome. And now it's down. He just told me that, coming the off season, we got to put a new one on there because I haven't had a new cover made. He's kind of worked it together, and it's worked great. But he's like, yeah, you really need a new cover. So maybe I'm going to do that in the off season. But he does great work. Boat covers, upholstery, awnings. And they had a little tear in the seat of the RV that they fixed last week. And in the leather, you have no idea where that tear is. It's amazing how he got that fixed. Boat covers, upholstery, awnings, you name it, they can do it. That's Dwayne's, DUANES, Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com. That's Dwayne'sCoverItAll.com.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What advice would you give somebody that that's window shopping?
I'd have to say Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level in the replacement game. They came in ahead of time, measured all the windows, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today. Pella's team of expert installers start with an in-home consultation and finish with no hassle or mess, leaving nothing but perfect results that stand the test of time. Right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, pay as low as $19 per window and $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Third and long, four-man rush. Field stands in, delivers, intercepted. Quay Walker's got it. Looking for blocks. Walker still on his feet. Walker's still going, looking for the end zone. Quay Walker is in. Touchdown.
This is the first game. This hurts. This is a division opponent. All the guys in there are sick to their stomachs, and all the coaches, everybody, and it's not something that you like. But we also know it's the first game, and we got to get better. Once this gets over, we got to get to tomorrow, and we got to start moving our eyes forward and move to Tampa Bay.
Everybody now. Go Bears, still soft. Go Bears, still soft. Go Bears, still soft.
Welcome in. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. Yes, they do. Bears just can't figure it out. Matt Eberflus today saying his team played with great effort. Great effort. Just the execution didn't add up. I don't think so, but nevertheless. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, just a mile from Lambeau Field, and it's perfect for the family stay. If you're looking for one of those drive-up good old motels, the Bay Motel, greenbay.com. Go to baymotelgreenbay.com, and the Bay Family Restaurant, homestyle cooking 7 days a week. Call them 920-494-3441. Mike Clemens joining us now on the hotline. And Michael, good win yesterday for the Packers, to say the very least, and the fact that Matt Eberflus is trying to spin any kind of positives on this for a team that didn't have an identity. They didn't look like they were even prepared to play this game. I don't know how you can put a positive spin on that if you're a Bears fan.
Right. And my take from this game is I picked the Packers to win. There's a lot of reporters that cover the Packers that picked the Bears to win. They just thought finally there would be some home field advantage. And then when Christian Watson went down, and you didn't know what kind of shape Romeo Doubs was going to be in and all those other things, and some of the veterans, the free agents that the Bears did add both on defense and offense, the consensus, well, but Las Vegas had them 2.5-point favorites to win the game. You think it's finally they were going to win a game. That Aaron Rodgers is gone, and who knows that Jordan Love, who looks so in the preseason, was going to fumble this thing away, and they couldn't have been more wrong. And I couldn't get over, Bill, is that game we're on is that the Bears have no answers for themselves. I don't think they could win against air right now. They've lost 11 games in a row dating back to last season. They went 3-14 last year, which is why they got, at the top of the draft. So Eberflus, I want you to listen to some of these comments that we've got over on the Bears side last night after the game. And I've been doing this a while. When a coach says something at the podium, it's probably what he just told his team in the locker room, because you hear that thing kind of reverberate throughout the organization. This is what the coach probably had to say to the team. He was asked, did it take a while for the Bears to get their confidence back? Or will it take you a while to get your confidence back after a 38-20 loss at home again to the Packers?
Yeah, that's a good question. To play this game, you have to have passion and you have to have emotion. So yeah, this hurts. It's an emotional thing, and you got to have passion to do it the right way. And we'll take away the good things we did out there today, and we'll correct the ones we need to improve on.
There's a lot of improving that needs to happen, and their quarterback has to play better, Mike, I guess might be the best way to put it.
Yeah. And Justin Field, man, well, he probably knows the record. Maybe he doesn't. The Bears have lost 13 of the last 14 games at Soldier Field to the Green Bay Packers. And so the young quarterback for the Bears, Field, was asked, are his teammates, how disappointed are they in this loss to the Packers?
I mean, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Rivalry week one, going against the Packers. I mean, it sucks. I mean, nobody's in good spirits, but I mean, this one hurts. It definitely sucks. But in the grand scheme of things, you have to look at the bigger picture. It's week one. We have 16 games to go in the regular season, so we have a lot of room to improve, a lot of room to grow, and I think that's what we're going to do. As long as we keep that positive attitude, keep just our mentality, just keep going, keep pushing for greatness each and every day, we'll be fine. So, but I mean, it definitely hurts. Not only because, it's the first game of the season and it's a loss, but it's a loss to, them. So, still want to say, sorry to teammates, all the fans that were rooting for us. And, but, we'll bounce back. We'll be good.
It's Mike, you and I felt it yesterday before the game in that city. Even on Saturday night, there was this palpability of energy that finally the black cloud is lifted and the Bears are going to be able to beat the Packers. And this, to me, was a hard loss to swallow for the Bears and their fans.
Right. And the storyline for the Bears last year is, okay, they had some injuries. They had to replace some guys in offensive line. They didn't have a very good offensive line. They're trying to clean up, Ryan Pace, the last regime of the Bears, and get guys off the books and put together a new team. But now this is the second year with our head coach and with our offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. We brought some guys in. We think we had a great off season. We saw some things we're excited about in the preseason. You talk to some of the longtime veteran Chicago Bears reporters, and they're like, we were there every day at training camp, and you see these practices, and you'd ask them about it, and they say, it's just practice. Mm-hmm. It's going to be okay. And then the 2 weeks leading up to this game, all kinds of hype in Chicago. Chicago needs something to smile about, man. And they thought, all right, this is where it's a fresh, clean slate. We get the Packers at home without Aaron Rodgers, and this is where we move ahead. And Cole Kmet, who grew up in Chicago, it can be such a talent and face of the franchise for the Bears. He talked about how much of a loss this turned out to be for them.
Game just because of the, Bears Packers, and so it's a big game for us. But at the end of the day, it's 1 of 17, and look, it hurts. We didn't expect this to happen, but got to be able to regroup here, and Tampa will be here before you know it.
Mike, you and I were talking. I told the story that you and I had a conversation with a prominent person down in Chicago that covers the team that said, one of the most undercovered stories of this preseason was the fact that really their quarterback didn't really play very well, but nobody wanted to talk about it because they were so focused on the hype for that team.
Tremendous athlete. Justin Fields rush for over 1,000 yards. They're still not sure he knows what to do with the football. I mean, you bring in DJ Moore and you get him. Is this the game plan? And when you start looking at the game a second time, you see Fields looking around and not quite sure where he's going to go with the football. Another thing that is killing the team too is the Bears was the penalties. They had 90 yards in penalties, and DeMarcus Walker is their defensive lineman. He didn't hold back. He was asked, what hurt the Bears the most in this loss to the Packers?
Details. I think that's what beat us today is the details. Field position, penalties, killed us,
Very short and succinct, no doubt. And I was kind of surprised that, that Justin Fields, I was really looking for him to be some kind of a quarterback, stand in the pocket, deliver the ball, do a lot of the things that Jordan Love was doing, but Justin Fields just didn't. He was taking off and running again.
And he ended up being the leading rusher for the Chicago Bears again, and that's not the model that you want. And so I went to Rasul Douglas. This guy tells it straight. And I asked him, were you surprised that Justin Fields is still running out of the pocket as much as he did last year in this game?
Not really, because he can run really well. So if things is not looking how it's supposed to look or the look that he expected to get, I think for sure if he can get it 5-4 yards on the ground running, he'll do it every chance. You get what I'm saying? So we didn't know what to expect, but we knew eventually he would leave the pocket and try to make it happen. And that's the player he is. Put it on him.
This was a big game in a lot of different areas, and I thought that there was pressure on Jordan Love coming into the game because of the whole "I own you" thing to try to keep up that tradition and get that win and his first start and all that. But I thought as I started to look at it, I thought more so there's more pressure on the Bears because of the rivalry, because they've been dominated so much. This was tough. This was not just a game to start your season. This was a big game in many different facets.
It's everything you asked for. Finally, football's back. Sunny and 75 degrees on the lakeshore there at Soldier Field. The tailgating was there early and all over the place. And then you get in, the game gets going, and there's trash talking. There's dudes pushing each other. There's penalty flags for unsportsmanlike conduct. And so I asked Rasul Douglas, so was this a Bears-Packers rivalry game or just another game in the NFL?
Yeah, it's Packers. For sure. They say it's the biggest rivalry in sports.
There you go. Easy enough. Succinct. Let's do this. We're going to step out, take a quick break. We're talking with Mike Clemens, who's joining us on the hotline. We're going to go the rest of the way with Mike as we continue to break down the Packers win over the Bears 38-20 yesterday down at Soldier Field. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends Mikey Whitcomb and the gang at Exit Realty. Call him 414-243-1976, 414-243-1976. He's the guy that got me into my house, helped me out, did a lot of work on my behalf, and was fantastic through the entire process. Get a hold of my buddy Mikey if you're in Milwaukee County, Ozaukee County, Waukesha County, Jefferson County, whatever it happens to be. 414-243-1976, 414-243-1976. He can help you too.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Buckle up. It's all systems go at Potawatomi. Plug in to high wattage play and you could win an all-electric BMW i7. Play now through September with your club card. Prize drawings on Thursdays. There's a shocking $800,000 in total prizes on the line, including the luxury BMW i7. It's time to electrify your drive. Only at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. More info at paysbig.com/BMW. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Aaron Jones remains out of the game. Fumble, but Love, it bounced right to him. Now back, now throwing. He's got a man wide open. Musgrave catches it, falls down.
There it is. Noodle Up train was coming. Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Buzzard Billy's. If you're heading out there for Oktoberfest to La Crosse, it's right on Pearl Street. Great place. Starlight Lounge for the cocktails upstairs. Awesome, awesome atmosphere. Both places. You cannot go wrong. Buzzard Billy's, Starlight Lounge, Pearl Street in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Joining us on the hotline, our guy, Mike Clemens here, breaking it down as always. And from what he heard and or saw in locker rooms and such after the fact, and the things that we discussed on the way home, Mike, Matt LaFleur, I mean, it was It was a solid win on many fronts. There's enough mistakes or things that they need to work on that they can look at. But, he talks, Matt LaFleur, pretty highly about when you look at what Jordan Love did and the way he kind of had poise in the pocket. There's something to be said for confidence and poise. And I thought Jordan Love had it.
Well, we've been told that Jordan is calm, cool, collected for 3 years. And yesterday now he finally had a chance to prove it on that play. By the way, it was the running backs coach, Ben Simmons, when they were in that situation and he saw what was going on the field and had been in all the offensive meetings. He went to Matt LaFleur and said, Coach, if we get a first down here, let's try the leak. The leak. He reminded him of a play that was on the menu, and LaFleur looked at him and said, oh, okay, yeah, I knew. And that meant they're going to take Luke Musgrave, and he's going to do a late release, and they'll get the direction going on one side and, motion with Jordan Love. And that's one of the reasons that Musgrave was so wide open. The other was the fact that, the ball's bouncing in the backfield, and Love is trying to get a whole handle on it and then pick it up and flip it for like 37 yards down there, was set up, the Dobbs second short touchdown pass. And so LaFleur talked about how Jordan Love recovers from that fumble, hits Musgrave to set up that second touchdown pass to Romeo Dobbs.
You have to be resilient, and you can't allow one play to affect the next play. And we always talk about having a one play mindset. And I think he's a resilient guy. I was really proud of his effort, his composure, his competitiveness. Although I don't want him taking a lot of shots when he's running the football. The one scramble allowed us to go for it on fourth down. All in all, I couldn't be more proud of just his performance, his poise. There's a big time belief in that locker room for Jordan Love. And I think the guys, they're going to rally around him. They're excited for him. They love him. They respect him. He comes to work every day. Great attitude, great energy. And I think you saw that today.
One of the things, Mike, that or one of the biggest supporters, I guess might be the best way to put it, of Jordan Love has been Aaron Jones.
You're exactly right. All along the way. And Aaron Jones, scores 2 touchdowns yesterday, the one he runs in, and that great pass over the middle that he caught, which, by the way, he told me, it's not a pull. It's not a hamstring pull. He said it was a little tweak when he grabbed the back end of his left leg as he went into the end zone yesterday. But he talked about getting that touchdown pass for 35 yards, having the trust from Jordan Love.
I'm so proud of Jordan, just saw the work that he's put in, all the time he spent in football, to us, spending time with us, on us. He could be doing so many other things, but this is where he wants to be, and he wants to be great. And, he just gives us himself time after time after time. So you can't do anything but be happy for a guy when he succeeds like that.
Jordan Love, does he feel a lot of that, Mike? Is he feeling a lot of that, kind of support that he at least has been given outwardly?
It seemed like it because that's what we could hear through the door before they let us into the visitors' locker room down in Soldier Field. And so he was asked about that from some of the comments that LaFleur said before Jordan got up to the podium. Do you understand how much support you're getting from your teammates?
You definitely can feel it. Just being in the locker room with the guys, they're awesome, man. I was actually given a game ball today, and those guys were going crazy in there. So it's an awesome feeling for me. We got a great team. I love those guys. It feels great to have everybody behind you for sure.
Well, he, like you said, he feels it, and the guys rallying around him they've been outspoken publicly for him. There's no doubt about that. And then you get to the end of the game. Mike, there's always game balls, and we're probably going to see it at some point on the NFL Network, or NFL Films is going to have it, but game balls in this particular contest. What was that like after the game?
One for Jordan Love, and then one for Kenny Clark to represent the defense. There's one guy before we get done here today that I could suggest maybe earned a game ball as well. I think a lot of fans, as they watch this game, when they saw some of these explosive gains by Aaron Jones in the second half, they're like, well, where was that? Because they got him the ball like 5 times. He was averaging over 4 yards, nearly 5 yards a carry with those 4 carries he had in the first half. A.J. Dillon, not so much. He was averaging less than a yard in his 4 carries in the first half. So Matt LaFleur was asked, without Christian Watson, and Mike Clemens asked you early last week, are you going to use more of Aaron Jones? Why didn't you get the ball to Aaron Jones earlier in the game?
I think we had 23 plays at the half. So not a lot of plays. It was hard to get into a rhythm. It's never an excuse, but it's just the facts. And you could look and be nitpicky and try to get him the ball in certain ways. And certainly we got to do that because you can see the explosiveness that he possesses and what he does when he has the football. He's a dynamic playmaker. There's no doubt about it. It is a long season, and we know that we got to manage him as best we can because he is one of the guys that just tilts the field in your favor when he's out there, whether he's getting the ball or not.
The other guy that was the benefactor of a really solid day, for the most part, by Jordan Love, was Romeo Doubs, and we talked about the connection those two had coming into camp. So it clearly became certain they have that connection now as well in the regular season.
Do you know why Doubs and Jordan Love have that connection? Because Aaron Rodgers had all those other guys out there last year, Lazard and everything, and so Doubs was pushed back to the second team, and he got all those reps with Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
And Watson was, injured a lot, so that's part of what built it. They watched it all last year in practice. Doubs led with 5 targets. He caught it 4 times, followed by Luke Musgrave, Aaron Jones with a couple of catches, Jaden Reed. They threw to him 5 times, number 11, but he's only able to make 2 catches because those are some bad throws that Jordan Love had, particularly in the first half. But I talked to Romeo after the game. I thought his first touchdown catch was a tremendous play call, and the route he ran in the back end of the end zone. And then later, after the big play to Musgrave, they came right back to Doubs to nail it, to get another touchdown, which was tremendous. And I asked him, about what were those plays?
So yeah, the first one, there was some sort of zone, so I had free access, and I was able to get across the safety's face with nobody in that zone area. So that was the first one. And the second one, it was just one-on-one. I thought he did really good. It was really balanced today. A lot of poise. And Jordan's been like that since I got in last year. At some point, my rep started off with Jordan. So, I thought he did really good today, and I know he knows just like I do. I thought we all played exceptionally well. At some point, we was pretty much walking up a staircase, if you would say. But in the end, we was able to get going. We was able to get Aaron and AJ Dillon the ball. And, the receivers outside, Jada made a couple plays. I made a couple plays. Again, it just comes down to just building off of this win. But, it's week 1, pretty much 16, 17 more of these. And just got to keep building off of it, really.
I like the optimism for 17. 16, yeah. 17 more of these. I like the optimism. That means they're playing in the postseason.
He's already got them in week 1 of the playoffs.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Buy your tickets now. Christian Watson, I've had a couple of really good one-on-one conversations with him. He is a really smart kid, and he's really competitive. And watching him walk around the perimeter in the locker room, grinding his teeth in the sweats, frustrated about this hamstring thing that he's got. And so you know what you got? You've got a great competition between him and Doubs to be the top dog in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully Christian Watson can figure out a way to be healthier as we go on. All right, so then this other story, I imagine that some of our listeners get just kind of tired about hearing this. David Bakhtiari updates. But this is, I was able to have a conversation on the record with him and Rob Reichel, another Packers reporter, about Dave, and we talked about his goofy touchdown celebration yesterday. We laid on the side, he was blowing kisses, like some sort of glamour pose, about the rivalry with the Chicago Bears, where they have won 13 out of 14 games at Soldier Field and 9 in a row. And what happened? I said, what'd you think? Did you think like when the Bears couldn't convert at midfield and your defense stops them on 4th down, and you guys drive down the field and take advantage and get the momentum, and Doubs with that beautiful touchdown, that post pattern in the back of the end zone. What'd you think of that play?
For the touchdown? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a yeetgasm. You can go ask Steno what that is. Okay. Yeah, he's the one who talks about it. So, yeah, I'm pumped. A touchdown's a touchdown. That's why we go play offense, to score touchdowns.
And, Dave, is it accurate to say with each series today, things got a little more loose, a little better, a little more rhythm by the time you got to the third quarter?
Yeah. It's our first regular season game. I think there's like a bunch of rust for everybody, and we're gonna look at the film, and there's tons of guys. Even me, I had some rust and stuff to knock off, but I'll take it. Win. It's exactly what you want.
You had a hell of a dance though after that first one.
I had a hell of a time. I mean, like I said, I don't, I know I'm close to the end of the beginning, so I'm going to cherish every moment I got. I'm going to have fun with these young guys. I also got to be hip. I got to keep my ear to the streets, let them know I still got it popping.
Have you ever broken that out, like something like that? I mean,
I don't even know what the hell I think. I just did it.
It's awesome.
I don't know where it came from. I have no idea what it's called. I just did.
You're having that much fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have fun with these guys. I said, if my mind starts going, my body just can't take it anymore, or if I'm just not having fun, that's when I know I'm like, I still have so much fun, still feel good for the most part, and I still got a ton of energy. So
is it all this practice stuff much ado about nothing?
We're still talking about practice, man.
No,
I bought an Allen Iverson shirt. I'm gonna have to wear it with you guys because I'm like, golly, can we put it to rest? I mean, like if I go out there and just stink it up, sure, but I mean, like, I've played a lot of football. We just got to make sure I just feel as good as I can come Sunday because that's simply the best position.
You know, it's funny. No one said boo about it 15 years ago with Cliffy.
No.
I don't know why.
Did you hear about the big Lamborghini?
Yeah. That's what I said. I'm
only driving them out on Sundays.
Lamborghini 2.0. Just take me out on Sundays. I'm cool with it. I'm gonna go chill all week.
I'm watching this game. I'm seeing Verbal. I'm seeing Chippy. I'm seeing a couple of flags. And I'm like, okay, am I just watching an NFL game? Or am I watching the Bears and the Packers?
I mean, both. You're watching an NFL game against the Bears and Packers. You know, it's just got a little extra, and it's also a football game. I'm gonna be honest, I've had a lot of success in the stadium against this team. I'm gonna take it, and shoot, at this point, I'm gonna have to lose a lot of games against the Bears for it to get some even at this point because I've definitely my numbers against them. The win-loss has been very favorable over the years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
There you go. That's David Bakhtiari. And quit worrying about practice. He bought an Allen Iverson jersey. Let's do this. We're going to wrap it up with Mike Clemens when we come back. Stay tuned. Whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show right around the corner. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Boondocks Barbecue Burgers and Brews. And now they've got the shop open across the street. So if you want to go get some of their sauces and some of the different delicacies that they have inside the restaurant, you can buy it. They have a shop directly across the street on County Road K in Oconomowoc. Again, boondocksbbqs.com. That's boondocksbbqs.com. Boondocks Barbecue Burgers and Brews. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We played a complete game, 4 quarters. It was far from perfect, and there's a lot of cleaning up. But anytime you're +2 winning the ball, you got a great chance to win. And I thought our guys played hard. They played physical. And that's exactly what we've been talking about all season. It's just more or less our style of play.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you. And that's Matt LaFleur talking about the style of play and trying to be more physical. And yesterday I thought the Packers, they were a faster team. They were a younger team. They had a little bit of a different look. They weren't perfect, but they were good all around. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline to wrap things up. And Mike, that's kind of the way I look at it, is the Packers were just a good all-around team yesterday.
There are certain areas where Matt LaFleur, I think, is pretty frank, pretty blunt. And I when he says, I'm telling you, I think so far these guys are pretty physical. They're more physical than they were last year. And I don't think he's just selling stuff. I think I'm seeing that in practice. I know I saw it in some of the joint practices. And I'll give physicality a B yesterday, because, you know, you got to watch it in terms of your injuries as well, or getting a penalty flag for what you do. Hey, guess who stepped it up yesterday? Rashawn Gary was outstanding, right? He had 5 pressures in just 10 snaps in the game. And he was yelling at Jordan Love before Jordan went on in his post-game interview with Aaron Andrews, like, don't hold back. Don't give it up. Give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take credit. You're the man now. But guess who led the team in tackles? 10 combined tackles. Safety Darnell Savage.
Yep.
And we asked him, what was the game plan against that scrambling, running quarterback, Justin Fields?
We knew he was going to try to run around because, he's really good at that. But us in the back end, we just doing our job. We got to cover for as long as we can while he's back there running around, and hopefully those guys get to him up front. And I feel like they did a pretty good job with keeping him in there for the most part. So it's always good to, get those wins in the division, especially, the Bears, because it goes way, way back before any of us were even born. So it's like, it's always good to get a win against them.
And then you've got Matt LaFleur, Mike, who I thought had a really solid game plan. It was creative. There were some things that, maybe not have worked, but it wasn't same old, same old.
Took some chances. Then he had a 4th and 3 down there in the Bears territory, and he went for it. And when he gave the ball to Aaron Jones for that touchdown run, and listen to LaFleur said, who gave him, kind of the advice, the nudge to say, go ahead, coach, go for that on 4th and 3. Here's LaFleur.
The one scramble allowed us to go for it on 4th down, and I got to give it up to Darnell Savage in that situation, because he's the one that kind of said, "We got you, coach," and that I guess made me a little bit more decisive in that situation to go for it. And obviously, it was a big play to Aaron Jones on that critical 4th down, and just a big moment in the game.
Mike, now we're going to find out. We got to wait till Wednesday to find out about the injuries, right?
Yeah, maybe LaFleur will say something at 3:00 this afternoon. Aaron Jones claimed it wasn't that bad, but let's say he's got a hamstring and is going to have to be careful with it. Jaden Reed came up limping in the second half, where he needed assistance to hold his right leg up, which looked like maybe an ankle. And yet, I was there in the tunnel after the game as Brian Gutekunst, the GM, was there to hug every one of those players and coaches and congratulate them. I think that's a new tradition for the Packers. And I saw Reed kind of fast trotting into the locker room, so maybe the pain went down or something. So, and also, I believe Quay Walker, the inside linebacker, was being evaluated for concussion and pulled from late in the game yesterday as well. So those are the ones we're looking for as they get ready for the Atlanta Falcons on the road in Georgia next week.
Mike, people wanted to know how good was your steak, because you took pictures of it and posted it.
It was fabulous. It was fabulous. And the best part was the company and all the jokes that we can't tell on the air.
Good stuff. Mike, we'll talk to you later this week, pal. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
There you go. That's our buddy Mike Clemens joining us for a couple of minutes and breaking it all down, shall we say, as we get out of tonight. Got Brewers baseball, and in addition to that, you got Monday Night Football. And I'm sure maybe tonight I'll even do a little tweeting or something like that. Maybe we'll do something as just kind of sit back, relax a little bit later on this evening. I am heading down to Kenosha. Cortez's in Kenosha. It's our final cigar dinner of the year. I'll be probably home, I guess, between 8 and 9. Time enough to catch the second half of the NFL Monday night game. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we'll be back at it again tomorrow, breaking down Brewers and Marlins and such. Brewers back down at American Family Field and here for the next couple of days, getting you ready for the rest of the week. Packers, they film study today. Matt LaFleur speaks this afternoon. Off tomorrow. And then Wednesday, getting ready for Atlanta. So good stuff today. Great way to get our week started off in the right fashion. Thanks to everybody for taking a listen to us all throughout the great state and on the app. Also, thanks for watching us over on YouTube and Facebook and all that kind of good stuff as well. Until tomorrow, 20 hours from now, it's time for us to get